We now go live for special coverage of Worcester Council Theater 3000. Wow. We got 3 friggin' meetings going on today. Huh?
Yeah.
We're
going to watch the school committee first, and then the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. I've never watched one of those before, so that's gonna be fun. I have no idea about any of that.
A whole new cast of characters.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we'll pop over to the Public Safety Subcommittee meeting to see if K2Me embarrasses herself in any new and novel way.
If she hurts herself patting herself and all the police on the back.
Yeah, right. She reaches a little too far around. You know? But yeah, the school committee meeting is starting up in a minute here, and it's kind of interesting. They're calling on the state auditor to investigate the business dealings and the business arrangement between Old Sturbridge Village and this new charter school.
Right.
Which is pretty transparently just shoveling money back into the into Old Sturbridge Village. They're going to use an old-timey horse and buggy to cart gold from the coffers of the Worcester Public Schools back to
this is how they're laundering all that butter money.
Yeah, right. I mean, like reading the proposal, it is pretty wild how transparently they're just going to be taking money from the state and just sliding it into the operating budget of Old Sturbridge Village.
Right. Yeah,
it's kind of wild. That really just is their plan, and the Commissioner of Education just thought that was good. That was cool. That was fine.
Yeah.
Sturbridge Village. That's good. That's good. We got to hold on to that one.
Can we put that? We should put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, Old Sturbridge Village. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Brian,
So,
can we get an okay to use that right now? Can you sign the rights away to that?
Yeah.
We do not have the meeting yet. We just have the lady reading articles. I would totally share this with you guys so you can feel the pain that I'm feeling, but I think it's better if we don't.
What article is she reading, Travis?
I'll be honest, I'm kind of trying to completely ignore it because it's just at a monotone voice.
If it's the one about police recruiting, that might be awesome to listen to in a monotone voice.
Fair,
Yeah, right.
All right, I'll check in.
I'm gonna catch up on my news reading for today. A couple of good articles about the police here. Did you guys see the Telegram article that Brad Patrician wrote about how the city is claiming they can't afford to pay the $8 million judgment against that they were required to pay within the Natalie Cosenza case?
This is why we didn't spend any ARPA dollars. That's going to be just the police slush fund for the next decade.
Yeah. How are we going to pay for these settlements? Certainly, I mean, you got to pay for the Polar Park loans, and these cop settlements are really adding up.
Yeah. Well, good thing Walter Bird's going to get Jose Rivera in to the city council to make sure that doesn't change.
Yeah, I'm so bummed that Walter Bird is going to be in the proverbial picture for this election. Like, I just don't want to fucking deal with that guy. Yeah. Anybody who doesn't know, he used to be my editor at Worcester Magazine, and he was boop, 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 and it was terrible. Yeah, I just
adult.
Think of the upside, though, Billy. He's actually going to be in tons of pictures, and that means Travis is going to be able to turn tons of pictures into memes. And that's
I was in the same room with him the other night. He was very grumpy.
He wanted to go to his bobbleheads.
I heard him walk up to multiple people being like, "What, are you ignoring me?" Like,
oh,
that is
wow.
not a way to start a conversation.
Wow.
He's getting the cold shoulder.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, for anybody else that doesn't know, I mean, I'm sure everybody in here does. That if you're watching this, you know the deal with Jose Rivera. He's was famous in the late 90s, early 2000s for being the only popular athlete and semi-successful athlete in Worcester. And he's now, safe to say, a transphobe anti-vaxxer, I think we're with.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a big medical freedom guy.
Yeah.
And not a big pronouns guy.
No.
Nah, doesn't like gender pronouns.
Right.
But
you have
he
to call
does
him by his name constantly.
Right. Yeah, he does like medical freedom.
Yeah.
I think we should just like call him they for the whole
I think
election cycle.
Well, until they let us know their pronouns, I feel like that's the polite thing to do.
Right.
As someone who I'm self-aware enough to acknowledge they didn't pay enough attention in elementary school English class and still has a hard time with commas, apostrophes, and actual qualifiers for word types. I have a suspicion that this is actually the problem, right? Like people who hate pronouns, they just don't know what pronouns are, and they get really, really angry when something that all the fourth graders are keen on is throwing them for a loop.
Yeah, right.
It's also they are also don't like queer people.
Well, there's that too. That doesn't help.
Yeah,
the fact that the queer community is making them feel stupid is
keep talking about these pronouns and I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
I watched a Catholic priest or whatever get tossed out of
I saw that.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. He's just sitting there yelling into the windows. I wanted anybody else to just walk up and sock him in the mouth.
Yeah.
It was a story time hour. One of those chestnuts.
Oh. Yeah,
I think this is the thing that's starting to throw fascists for a loop is that there are some really, really big people who also know how to fight who are not fascists. And now they're showing up to libraries and just picking up skinny priests and literally tossing them out the door.
Yeah.
This isn't supposed to happen. You're all supposed to be wearing dresses.
Yeah. Wait, I thought you was all some of those blue hairs. I thought you guys was all these pronouns.
It really is a great video because it's like a 6'5" guy, just like a mountain of a man, just picking up this little fella and just tossing him out the door. The Maine South Mom, I think there's two things going on there, and I couldn't get through the paywall on the second story, but I feel like the lawyers are making the claim that there was a SCOTUS or a SJC case back in the 90s that would prohibit the city from paying. But the city is also doubling down and basically articulating that even if they were forced to pay, they don't have the money and couldn't afford it anyway. So,
haven't they paid out other judgments though?
This is one where it's specifically with that case. The argument is if a police officer is indemnified for a case, that then the city can't be held liable for monetary penalties on top of that. And it goes back to a 90s case that I didn't look into it that much, but it reads like it was the state's interpretation of double jeopardy. That you're basically hitting two fines civilly on the same settlement.
That seems like horse shit.
It kind of was a lot of horse shit, but yeah.
Aislinn, where are you seeing that?
It was that story I think came out Saturday.
He's asking Aislinn.
There's a different link. Are you on the cities? Yeah.
I was listening to the video on demand. Is it not there?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, because there's two meetings going on at once, right?
Hold on.
Here in 1 second.
No, I think I got it.
All right, sweet.
There's a. Oh, yep. Here,
please. I don't have it.
Liar. It's on the city schools Facebook page. I just sent the link.
They don't want us watching, but guess what?
Found it.
Our commenters will help us, even if we're not able.
They think we're very stupid, and we might be, but our commenters are very smart. They're very smart people.
Thank you.
Arguably should be doing the show instead of us.
Yeah, right.
Sturbridge Academy. In early 2022, thanks to the support of a dedicated donor, the village leased a building in Worcester, Massachusetts.
This is Bryan Allen speaking right here, the budget guy.
Worcester, with the goal of opening an elementary school there in the fall of 2023. Our academies are key to the future of the village, and expanding into Worcester will allow the village to impact a greater number of students in an entirely new geographic area. The academies will provide reliable contractual revenue to the museum, safeguarding us against fluctuations and uncontrollable factors that impact the mission revenue, such as weather and public health. The proposed management fee to Old Sturbridge Village is set at 7% of all per pupil tuition payments. By the 5th year of the operation, an estimated $470,000 will be paid annually to Old Sturbridge Village on the no bid, no questions asked contract for educational management organization. Over the 5-year initial contract period, $1.7 million will be paid to Old Sturbridge Village for the management fee, for the best we can tell, in their own words, to provide reliable contractual revenue to the museum. By comparison, the foundation budget amount for the administration for Worcester is about 3.9% of the overall foundation budget. And as we've demonstrated, Worcester actually spends much less than the foundation budget allotment for administration.
Well, I'm convinced. All right, everybody. See you later.
Good meeting.
In supplemental material, there are no new plans to add management staff to Old Sturbridge Village to support the charter school.
What do they need money for?
Reading the
All their
interview
stuff's
questions
already
and
old.
answers from
They get to,
DSC released last week.
Harvest it
on
from the
page
forest.
15, I'll just summarize the quote.
'Cause
I
nobody
think
wants
in
to go
terms
to
of our
fucking
ability
place.
to add WCA to the finance staff, I think it's very easy. We move OSA to an accounting platform that matches OSVs, and we would do that with WCA.
Oh,
It allows
Joe!
them to do very good.
Oh,
What did Joe do?
Joe is in the car. Wow.
Cities and towns can spend only for public purposes. Public funds cannot be used for private purposes. The cities and
Oh,
towns
he
have the
was
right to
just
spend
coming
for
from
purpose
the
where the public good
Red
will be
Sox.
served,
I don't know. They
but
just
not where the
opened up a
expenditures of
museum
money
exhibit.
is directly for the private benefit of
I was
certain
listening to
individuals.
that on
Oh.
the stupid on-demand
This is a
shit.
quote from directly from the Department of Revenue.
Ah.
Plugged into this shit.
From 2000.
Yeah, right. I gotta stop
Further
smoking
quoting,
while I'm
in
watching
some
the on-demand
Tracking
shit.
this guy.
It was,
You learned so much from that.
Yeah, it was Tim Garvin.
In
Tim
those
Garvin was
situations,
talking
if the
about,
dominant motive is
I don't
for
know,
the
baseball cards.
expenditure is a public one, incidental private benefits
That's so
will
cool.
not invalidate the expenditure. If, however,
the commitment I
dominant
have to
motive
this
is
show, guys.
provide a private purpose, the expenditure will be invalid, even if incidental some public purpose are also served. Again, in their own words, the academies will provide reliable contractual revenue to the museum, which seems like a dominant private purpose. Charter schools are subject to the Massachusetts Conflict of Interest Law. The purpose of the Conflict of Interest Law is to ensure that public official financial interests and personal relationships do not conflict with their public obligation. From DSC's Charter School Administrative and Governance Guide.
Yeah, the letter of support from the Ecotarium
There
was
is a
just like,
section on
yes, the
purchasing
Ecotarium
services
partners
from
with schools.
Educational
It
Management
didn't say anything
EMO.
about that. That was it.
Old Sturbridge Village is the EMO to Old Sturbridge Academy in the proposed Worcester Cultural Academy.
The thing that really gets me
From
though
the
is
guide,
that
it
there's
reads,
just some
quote,
obscure
"Perhaps the most
carve out
important
in the
procurement
charter
decision that
school
a
law
board of
in the
trustees
state
can
that
make
museums
is
can
the
run
decision
charter
to
schools.
choose an EMO
And
to
that's like what
provide
this whole
educational
thing
and/or
hinges on.
administrative services to the school.
And
This
it's like,
decision is critical
who
to
put
the
that
success
there?
of
Old
the charter
Sturbridge
school should be
Village?
made
Like,
with utmost
sounds
care.
like
it's
me.
crazy. It
Yeah,
really sounds
really.
like
Follow
it.
their normal procurement procedures. Use sound
Or a
business
really
practices,
right wing guy that
and,
was
quote,
planning on
shop
starting a
around
museum soon.
to maximize
Yeah,
competition
right.
when choosing an EMO.
Mm.
After a board has chosen
Indentured
an
servant.
EMO, it must continue to
The
maintain
debate
its
is whether or
independence
not anyone
from the company.
cares.
Yeah, right, right.
If this
That's
guidance is
the whole
not made, of
pitch
the 17
just hinges
listed founding
on
members,
no
12
one
will
giving a
authorize
shit.
Old
Yeah,
Sturbridge
will
Village, Old Sturbridge
somebody care?
Academy, or
I mean,
EL.
reading that letter from Jeff Riley, the Commissioner of
Founding
Education,
members work
was like,
for the Education Management
This
Organization.
breakdown is incredible. Like
Some
everybody
board
works
members
for
also
Old
serve
Sturbridge
on the
Village.
Board of Overseers
yeah,
for Old
right,
Sturbridge
right.
Village. 3 currently work for Old Sturbridge Academy, and 1 works for
Like, this
EL.
is like a Simpsons
The
bit.
company will
You know?
undoubtedly receive hundreds of thousands of dollars if the charter school is approved.
Ye old monorail.
It's clear that this is not, as the DSC Charter School Administrative and Governance Guide suggests, that the board should select the educational management organization with utmost care and follow their normal procurement procedures, use sound business practice, and shop around to maximize competition. This is the educational management organization is creating a
I was
charter
cycling
school
through
to
my
provide
mind all the
reliable contractual revenue to
Simpsons
museums.
episodes that are about
EMO
somebody
choosing
taking
a
over the
board of
school
trustees,
for
Not
profit.
the other way around as the DSC
Funzo, good episode.
requires. There is no independence from the company and the members of the proposed board, and they have an apparent conflict between the financial health of Old Sturbridge Village and the appropriate management fee charged to Worcester Cultural Academy. Every member of the founding group signed an affidavit under penalties of perjury as contained in the proposal of the school, attesting, among other things, that they do not have, quote, financial interest in the proposed school, the proposed educational management organization, the support organization, or any other company that may contract or provide services to the proposed school.
What?
Founding members work for the educational management organization. 2 proposed board members are also on the board of overseers for Old Sturbridge Village,
Guy fucking
and 1 works.
Yeah, Brian, I was just going to say that. I mean, you guys should find some room for Brian in some of your shows. I mean, he might be the city's ultimate straight man right here. Like,
Yeah, it's true.
not even coming close to cracking.
Is the lineup set for the roast?
I just, in light of what
Love to have him on.
Mr. Allen has given us here this evening, I
Hey,
do
it's our friend Tracy.
to amend my original item to add to the state auditor and the Office of the Inspector General, also the State Ethics Commission, as it seems we have some grave ethical issues here as well. Thank you.
Boom, roasted.
Anyone else? Yes. Member Melman?
Thank you. And
Jesus.
thank you, Member O'Connell-Novick, for filing this item. I think it's important. And as I listened to Brian once again talk about
What awesome room are we in
what
right
we
now?
talked about
The Durkin Administration Building, I believe.
Oh, no kidding.
And I
It looks
keep coming
fantastic.
Back to it as
It's certainly
tons
not
of
at City
people in the
Hall, which
community
Jack
this
learned.
weekend over the past couple of months have just been talking about how the heck does
Jack,
this
you
get
dolt.
by Desi. And so I'm not sure if this is appropriate at all, Vice Chair Johnson, but
Yeah.
why aren't we
I don't
asking
know.
how Desi came to this decision? Is that,
I wanna
would
hear
that be part of this item at all? How does Desi make a decision when it's so clear as whatever to us that this is just completely wrong? It's a bad proposal. It's bad decision-making. There's nothing that, we all know all those rest of those answers. So we'll save our discussion for that tomorrow. But I'm just wondering through the chair if we could add Desi as part of that investigation.
Thank you. Anyone have the answer to that? Member O'Connell-Novick?
You know, the oversight for the department is actually the board. So I think that through the chair to my colleague, I think the place to ask that question is actually the board tomorrow to say, I mean, I agree with you. The place where this sort of review should have happened was actually with the department. As you know, as Mr. Allen notes, it certainly appears, at least from a review, that there's information within that would have not allowed this to move forward. But it's up to the board to say to the department, you didn't actually do your job. There really isn't another oversight there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hand up?
Huh. I wonder why.
Okay, so we will take a vote on sending this to the state auditor and Inspector General's office and we will add the amendment to the State Ethics Commission. Roll call. Member Clancy?
Yes.
Vice Chair Johnson? Yes. Member Kamara?
Yes.
Member Mailman?
Yes.
Member Driver.
Yes.
Member O'Connell-Novick?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
Yes.
Thank you.
See him,
And
like,
that,
grab
ends our meeting. Meeting
4 right
adjourned.
away or something.
Roll
Would
call.
be so fun.
Member Clancy?
Yes.
Member Kamara?
Yes.
Member Mailman?
Yes.
Member McCullough?
Yes.
Member O'Connell-Novick?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
Yes.
And Vice Chair Johnson? Yes. Thank
Joe
you.
Petty doing the Lord's work over here.
Yeah.
I'm
there you
with, I definitely paid attention, and I am with you fellas on whatever it is we're doing. So that's interesting. That was I'm asking around to get a copy of that PowerPoint presentation, but that was pretty stunning. how they laid out all of the ways in which this is a clear conflict of interest. It'll be interesting to see if this falls on deaf ears tomorrow when the school committee members are going to testify at DESI. The meeting tonight at the that board is just kind of informational to discuss the proposal. And I'm not sure if any of this stuff about anybody in Worcester being especially mad about it is going to even trickle into the discussion. I'm not. It'll be very interesting to see if they even acknowledge it.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious how much they care, or how much they are, even able to be reached on something like this.
Yeah. We'll definitely see in a couple minutes. So that meeting starts up at 5. And we'll watch that. It's supposed to go from 5 to 7, but the meeting is only called to discuss this. So I'm not sure how long they're going to.
Especially
really
when they
talk
have
about
a
it.
meeting tomorrow as well, right?
Yeah, right. It's kind of weird, but yeah. So we'll just go back and forth between. We'll start there, and then we'll pop over to K2ME subcommittee meeting, which is going to be fucking amazing. It's gonna be. She's gonna be doing the Lord's work again. I don't think we've had the chance to talk about it on the stream, but wow, that patch article that Neil McNamara wrote about what Kate Toomey was texting during the prayer for Black Lives was absolutely stunning. It was just, she was just midway through text conversations with the 2 police union heads, just basically saying that she will do whatever they ask of her.
Yeah.
So while a prayer that was prompted by a stunning act of police brutality is happening right next to her, Kate Toomey is making sure that she's doing the bidding of
The only person,
the police union heads
with any sort of oversight, as far as like elected officials, like as far as people that are able to be technically reached by the public, the only person with any oversight. And she's like, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Mommy,
it's
Dad.
like,
Which boot would you like licked?
Yeah, right. I mean, like, yeah, it's so just like surreal that the police unions literally chaired the police oversight committee through Kate Toomey.
Yeah.
Her non-apology was even infuriating. It was just habit to look at my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Get
Why was it
all
in
the
your
way.
hand?
Right.
Why was it in your hand? Unless it was really important for you to get that text message from the cop.
Which, if you go back and look at the video, it wasn't. It was in her bag or coat or whatever was on the table, and she like leans in past Sarai to grab it as Sarai's starting speaking and whatnot. She wasn't holding it initially, and then I mean the other excuse that it was to give Christian a heads up.
Right. So also, why were you doing that right then?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Also, why were you holding the items? Oh yeah, because the police department, police union officials told you to. Yeah.
This
that's
is the
great.
stuff though that again, like I can't tell if it's a lack of self-awareness across the board where like people don't realize that that's the problem, right? Like similar but completely different example. That article I mentioned yesterday about the recruiting issues. I mean, to have Rick Cipro be the spokesperson for the city saying that we can't find qualified people because there's a lack of respect for police in our country. It's like, dude, every member of your family has been arrested for beating up cops. Like, I mean,
you don't even care. It's your job to care.
Seriously, like it's just a nightmare. And I don't think any of these folks realize that they're their own nightmare.
Right. And that is a very good point. That's not her style, is to do things like oversight.
Oh yeah, that was really stunning when she said that the police public safety subcommittee isn't responsible for having oversight powers.
What are they responsible for then? Requesting drones?
Yeah, they're literally the way that she uses this committee is that she only calls a meeting when it's getting in the way of the cops getting something they want.
Right. And
Like when it
editorializing
needs,
about how they deserve more money.
Right.
Or,
yeah, right. Yeah,
For
For
exactly.
accountability.
yeah.
Yeah. What did she say at the last one? She was like, people are entitled to their compensation, right? She was
No,
just like
we all
parroting the
agree that
talking points of
change
the
work
evening.
and that would, yeah. Just like, also that
Yeah.
her cop family members were mad at her for
For
Not-
not giving them a heads
not
up.
informing them ahead of time about things that she was going to do in the city council.
Dude, that's so cool. Like she like tried to take credit for body cameras, being like, yeah, that was actually my idea when it like objectively wasn't.
Yeah.
And then she says out loud that her family, whoever it is, it's like her father-in-law or some brother-in-law, something like that, is like in the police union. She's like, yeah, they got mad at me because I didn't run it by them first. And it's like, oh my God, you just admitted out loud that you're just
God,
you are literally a puppet. You're just a puppet.
and yeah,
I
just
don't-
incredible, just absolutely incredible. Also,
I'm not sure that she knows it.
No, because I mean, we're talking like obviously, it's not in the story, but like I've at least from what I've heard, the reason why this became a story is because she started showing people the text. Like people were mad at her for interrupting the prayer. That was what people were mad about. People were mad about her being rude during a moment of silence, and her way to get out of that was to
I wasn't texting. I was just reading my texts.
reading
Yeah.
from the cops. See,
Yeah, right.
see, I'm
See?
not bad.
This
I'm
one from this police union head came in at 6:35, and this one from this other police union head came in at 7:04.
I'm not.
And the
uncaring.
prayer took place.
I'm not uncaring. I'm unethical.
Well done.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, that's just it was simply amazing. And I mean, at this point, does the police union drop her? You think?
I don't know, but I mean, it does introduce a bunch of questions that I think I don't even know. I mean, it's something you should look into, Bill, but I don't know that anyone could really navigate it on the local level. But like to a certain extent, Kate's right that her committee doesn't have oversight because the council doesn't have oversight. They have oversight of the administration, and the administration has oversight of the police department.
That's true.
But clearly, the police union has direct oversight of the city council. And like,
Yeah,
how does
right.
that work? Where like, there's no aspect of the general public, even through our representatives, that affords us oversight of the police department, but the police department can, affect influence on the only people that we have to represent us in the face of the administration. It's a giant, like, gaping conflict of interest.
It comes back to the thing that we talk about, that Bill's brought up many times, that it's because they refuse to wield their power. The system is designed this way for it not to be obviously direct oversight, but there is indirect oversight if you choose to, wield it, and they obviously don't. And then to compound the issue, the police union has so much influence over the mayor that he is willing to appoint Kate Toomey to the head of this committee. Like it's like everybody doesn't know what she's doing. Like everybody doesn't know whose back pocket she's in.
Right.
And so ultimately, like she's like a tool for them. Like she doesn't even know what the fuck she's doing. She's a psychotic.
Has no idea.
Like
she's happy to be there.
No fucking idea what she's doing.
Thankfully, we have terms like useful idiot to throw around. That
bingo.
Yeah. Right.
So,
but does she remain a useful idiot now that she's just publicly made it clear that that's what she is? Well, are they gonna opt for like Jose Rivera? Like if he wins,
I wonder why he got announced.
Yeah, right. The timing there, that's certainly suggests something.
My concern is that people don't actually pay attention to this stuff at all. Or I could see a lot of people reading Neil's story, if they see it at all, because it wasn't in the Telegram,
right,
and interpret it as, well, yeah, see, she was just talking with her cop friends. Like, that's what's weird about that.
Right.
I think when it gets to the next layer of it, which is that, like, what more was there? Because again, like the city turned those text messages over, and it's interesting that they did that very quickly. You know,
Yeah, they didn't put up any sort of stink about that. I can just say, kind of in the background, a little how the sausage is made. Usually, they would put up a little bit of a fight,
right?
But they just sent them over within the required 10 days. You know.
Yeah. And so that does speak to the fact that they think that the first level of it is not so incriminating that it doesn't like, they think it doesn't do anything more than make her look like an idiot or make her look like a piece of shit, which it does, but it speaks to a larger thing. And I think that's part of it, is that it's all a calculation by, you know, by the city, and, you know, by this kind of whole, like, the group that, you know, what the meetings that happen that we don't see, the discussions that happen that we don't see. It's like, well, fuck Kate, which is what everybody is always saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone who will listen. But you know, it's that next level of it where it's like, yeah, why does the mayor put her out there? Like, she's kind of a target to put in there, because he knows what she'll do, and he knows that his, like, that whole thing is safe. And then if
she can be relied on to not use their power.
Exactly. And if she does something overly stupid like this, and they have to dump her, then see you later. And then
not a big deal.
Him, but it does. But that's the thing, and that's the thing that I think is the important part, is to get people to realize, or just put it out there, get people to kind of come to grips with the fact that, like, these are choices that the city council's making, that the city manager is making,
right,
about how to handle the police union and how to deal with them and how to
definitely an instructive moment in that regard.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, they to your point, Maid South Mom, they see her as being useful. I mean, Kate's the person you go to when you decided to buy a house at the bottom of a hill that happens to be on a dead end street, and cars, like, on icy days, drive through the front of your house on a regular basis. Kate's the one that comes in and gets you a guardrail in your front yard, right? Like,
yeah, right.
It's
into people that aren't, like, engaged in politics in the city or in the city government, then they think, okay, great, that's great. Like, she's uniquely like positioned to handle my problems, but she's not. Anybody can do that. You can do that. You don't even need a city councilor on your side to do that. You can, any one of them would, you know, and, you know, but because she is useful to, you know, Rick Cipro and Anthony Petroni, then you know, then that's, you know, then they'll keep doing it until it becomes a problem for them. And they're going to try and get somebody, it'll be somebody else next. They'll try it with somebody else. And whether it's, you know, Jose Rivera or somebody else, I think that seems like who it'll be. So, you know,
right. Sort of like how there was a pedophile ring happening before Jeffrey Epstein, and likely is still happening. Kate Toomey in this analogy is Jeffrey Epstein.
Do we know
as far as I'm going to take that one?
Political suicide, I don't know. Well, there's something else there, but we'll leave it there for now.
Does anyone know what the relationship between Eric and Jose is? I remember us, like, pointing out Jose was there the night of before he was, like, given the job, but they had the big turnout in the crowd of people. It was like, you could tell it was like everybody in Joe Petty's speed dial was all in the council audience one night. Jose was there that night as well too. That was the first time I had seen him out in public,
interesting,
doing anything public, really. But he was front and center that night to be supportive. I think he spoke as well in support of Eric.
He did, yeah. I, of course, have seen him because I've been on trial, and he's a trial court officer. As far as public events, coming off party.
Technically, they're public, but no cameras allowed.
Yeah. Well, people are allowed in there? Huh, I wish I had more support then. Interesting. Yeah, I don't, you know, I just from knowing of him and stuff like that, I guess I kind of knew where he stood, but I never, before that night, that was the first time that I had any inkling that he was trying to be at least politically active or connected at all. And maybe he wasn't before then. Maybe that's what this is
Inspired him.
or someone grabbed him and said, hey, you should come to this. It's a good first step.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, we need a new Kate Toomey.
Yeah.
You should consider being our new Kate Toomey," because he's already like saying like, "Oh, I support the police.
Right.
We need a strong police department," and towing that line. So I think he'd be thrilled to do Kate Toomey's job for him.
For sure.
For her.
For sure. Here's the thing. He might possibly be more unhinged than her.
I think definitely. Like Kate Toomey isn't connected enough to the right wing brain rot like political stuff, but like Jose Rivera is extremely connected to that shit.
Right?
He's looking at the memes. He's sharing the memes.
He's sharing the memes. Where do we think he stands on
on
the existence of dinosaurs? Because
that's a good question.
We're gonna have to host a debate. It's the only way to find out.
Yep.
That it is really
Figure
funny
out the
that was never absolved before Eric Batista got the job, huh? It was just never something that was.
Yeah. People, I don't know.
It's still an open question whether or not our city manager believes in dinosaurs.
Right. Right. I mean, listen, we went through the process of trying to get that question answered, and we were stonewalled at every.
But this brings us
That's
right
why
to,
they didn't do a search. No interview. Someone's going to ask about dinosaurs.
This brings us right to the meeting we just watched, though, right? Like, Brian Allen is giving you a list of all the people at this charter school who are employed by Old Sturbridge Village, but people are still just, looking the other way, right? Like,
Yeah.
all the information you need is right on the table in front of you. But it's butterfly. Yeah, look somewhere else.
Yeah, the commissioner of education was like, "This seems great." Like he probably didn't even read the proposal. He just like opened the envelope of cash he got from Jim Donahue.
There's a stack of
just
hundreds beneath it.
Yeah, right. Wow, this thing looks great.
Money.
Has anyone looked into
It was just doubloons.
Old Sturbridge Village's finances, Bill? Have you pulled their GuideStar report or anything?
No, I haven't. I'm pretty useless in that regard. I wouldn't know what's good or bad.
Okay.
Yeah, but what's it called? GuideStar. I see. I don't even know. What
GuideStar is the website you can go to get the tax filings for any not-for-profit.
Oh, okay.
It's so much fun. If you've never opened up a GuideStar account, like, it's a weird rabbit hole to go down when you realize like just how many prestigious not-for-profits are completely broke and do nothing but pay their executives. It's absolutely fascinating.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised by that. Huh. More suspicions confirmed for me. Yeah, they the problem is when you look at all their paperwork, it's like written in that like old timey like the F's that sound like S's.
Yeah, I never learned how to read cursive, so I'm gonna be pretty fucked when it comes to this.
Rurudo.
It's all on scrolls. You gotta dust it out. So we still got
Old Sturbridge Village has 13 million in endowment. Is that like that's pretty good, right? It's like, I don't know. See, I don't know if that's good or bad.
It's
Could buy a lot
probably
of
more
goat
than
feed.
anyone in the actual Old Sturbridge Village ever dreamed of having. So yeah.
Yeah.
That place sucks. I'm just gonna say it. That place fucking blows.
Terrible.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back in time and burn it down.
I'll be honest. I didn't
Back when it was
hate
just Sturbridge Village.
Like,
Uh,
there's plenty of things that suck
New
about
Sturbridge
it, right? Teach them some history. No, I mean, like, we went at Christmas time, and that was quaint as shit. Like,
Yeah,
it was
they do-
nice for what it was.
They do a Christmas thing. They do a Halloween thing. That's all well and good. But that place, like,
Places like
Shot.
that need to be historically accurate. It has to smell like human shit. Like there has to be people walking around with pustules on their face. Like just it could be a little plague, could be just a regular skin infection. Who knows? Like
syphilis. What's that?
No sign of dentistry.
There should be nobody in their 70s. Like,
married 14-year-olds just walking around joyfully on their way to churn some butter. Yeah.
Right.
When I was little, my friend, his family, they would go down the Cape every summer, and like his grandparents would like take us down every once in a while, and his grandfather used to take us to Plymouth Plantation or whatever it's called now. That's not offensive. Smart. They changed that. And his grandfather would just take his cell phone out in front of the people there and be like, "Hey, look at this! Ah, did it freak you out?" Ah. They're like, "Oh, what's that?" Like, so fun. Hi, Yenny. Hello.
What's up, Yenny?
We're waiting for the next meeting of
Yeah,
Committee
we're waiting
Mania
for the
to
next
start.
meeting. Yeah. Yeah, so the Telegram had a pair of articles. We already talked about the first one. They can't pay the $8 million judgment. But then the second one is just as good, where they just let the cops complain that nobody wants to be a cop anymore. Let me pull that one up. Now
It's a really great read.
yeah,
we're gonna watch the movie.
it's kind of stunning, honestly.
Man, they really they doubled down after your criticism last week, huh?
Yeah, they just fucking they know who pays the bills.
Yep.
Worcester Police Mart doesn't have a recruiting.
Any feedback from that? Did anybody say like, "Hey, that's a good point" or anything like that? Or
From the cops?
Or no, I'm saying just from like, other writers in the city or anything like that. That like, because here's the thing: you weren't. My thing with it is that you weren't running down the
Telegram.
report. You weren't running down even the paper, really, when it comes down to it. You're running down the parent company, obviously, but it's a detailed breakdown of like just how things have gone downhill. And
yeah, just how bad what is it? The structure that the Telegram exists in, like, pretty much prevents it from being good.
It's
only facilitates it getting worse and worse.
Yeah. It's not impossible for something else to work, but every paper that gets bought up by one of these, conglomerates is doomed. And that's
right.
That's what the demands of the system are. The demands of, increasing revenue are. So it's a great piece. I loved it.
Well, thank you.
Start taking stories that they read like fluff but should be really important, and give ChatGPT a swing at them, and just see who writes more compelling, but at the end of the day, completely useless copy.
No, that'll give them an idea, and they'll fire the rest of their reporters.
Yeah, right. But I mean, honestly, do I necessarily care if it's a human being writing the Worcester Police Department is having a hard time recruiting and retaining officers? Or if that's do I care if that kind of work is outsourced? No. Not a wink. I was like listening to this podcast. They were talking about all the there's people being really loud about ChatGPT and stuff, and then there's marketing copywriters who just know they're fucked, and they've been real quiet. They've been so quiet. Yeah,
that's what I've been using it for. 100% is I use it for marketing copyright, but I'm also
it's so good.
It's good enough. It gets me to a point where I can finesse it to where I need it to go. And like, as a designer and artist, I fully recognize that robots are kind of stealing my job too, but they won't. Like, it'll always be this weird kind of thing, or it won't be, and that's fine too. I'll just figure out a different way to make money. I'll be the guy that specializes in all the best prompts, like I don't know. I don't feel like they're really stealing it. We just have to adapt like any other tool.
Especially with the writing. I mean, it's like, I know you're joking, Bill, but I mean, that's the kind of part that's kind of cool is it should be on like your 4th, 5th, 6th draft that like the real good stuff starts coming out. Like ChatGPT just skips everything and gets you to the 4th, 5th, 6th draft, right? Like you just need to get into the weeds and just tweak the details a little bit, especially when it comes to just marketing copy. It's absolutely fantastic.
See, my product that I offer is protected by being very stupid. Like the chat GPT might be able to copy a traditional news article in that voice very well, but I don't think that they'll be able to copy something as stupid as what I put out every week.
And that's
I think that's a much more difficult task. That's a much more difficult task for AI than anything else. Yeah,
Bill
subscribe
Shaner
to my
promise.
Substack. The Bill Shaner promise. I'm too stupid for robots. You'll know it's never written by a robot because it's so stupid. And that's my promise to you. But yeah, this Telegram article. Oh, actually, no, Brian. To your point, one Telegram employee was extremely mad at me right after the article was published, and then slowly got less mad at me. And then apparently one Telegram higher up was like stoked on it and was like, they got it absolutely right.
We're all doomed.
Exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, right, yeah. They're like, yes, we are garbage. And no, but really one of the things in this Worcester Police Face Challenges article is an example of it. But one of the things that the Gannett pushes on these reporters is they call them alternative story formats, where everything is broken up into like subheads, and then the subheads are like only have a couple paragraphs in between them. And it just makes what would have been a bad article like just even worse. And toward what end, I'm not sure. But it's like kind of a mandate that the reporters write in this really kind of fucking confusing like format. And
it's similar to one of the news websites. I don't, is it Politico that does that? No, I can't.
The Onion.
It's very similar to the Onion. Yeah, but there's another one. Maybe it's like old HuffPost, but like there was another site that like did that same thing where it's just like, we know you're skimming, so like just
Let's help
you
out
what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Because at least if you're skimming our website regularly, then we're getting your views.
Yeah, but like we know you don't care
Right
about the writing at all, and we know it's bad, so just skim it, just skip it. But yeah, the way that the Telegram uses it is a lot of these articles just have the like it's like a question and answer where the reporter is asking the questions and then answering them, and it's very, very weird. This one isn't really like that. This is just like allowing the cops to say their propaganda and just dutifully repeating it. And
Which is,
if you're a local journalist, that's your job, you know.
That's the real bummer though, because it's, I mean, the story, the premise of the story is not wrong, right? I mean, like recruiting nationally is like in the shitter for law enforcement, but instead of like trying to figure out like the actual why, it's like, well, because the times have changed, like the world has changed and we need to get back to the good old days. Like,
yeah, right, exactly.
We could just thump people and nobody cared. Like we're paying out summary judgments for this shit and cost us $8 million to beat somebody up or sick a dog on them. And it is actually a great opportunity for the city if, you know, we had actual leadership to turn around and say, hey, like maybe we could rethink modern law enforcement in a way that actually was reflected the things society wanted. But instead they're just going to take down all the boundaries, right? Like you'll probably start having the administration, because the numbers are low enough where like everyone's just working tons of overtime now. Salaries are going to start getting ridiculous as a result. And you're going to end up having the administration look more closely at getting rid of civil service. There are ups and downsides to that, but that'll probably be the first thing to go, is leaving the civil service program. And then just throwing more money on them from a salary benefit perspective that won't address anything that society has actually asked for in terms of changes.
No, I think that we should just let the recruiting problem fix itself. And just maybe, what if we just had less cops? We can't find enough cops. Just have less cops.
Well, that's a whole other argument too. That again, generationally, it's like we've already forgotten that you have to go back to the Clinton administration.
Let's let the market defund the police.
That's
invisible hand.
When you You go back to the Clinton era before we started shoveling mountains of HUD dollars on law enforcement as pass-through grants, block grants and whatnot. Our police department was much smaller than it is now with way more crime. And yet we managed to pull through. Now crime rates have plummeted, but we get used to the numbers. And that's the part that scares old white folks is losing the numbers.
Right.
Got to get those numbers up.
Comstat or whatever that thing was from The Wire.
We call
The
that
Wire is
ShotSpotter
just so
Connect.
right.
Especially season 4. My hot take: season 4 is the best season.
Okay, this is a whole new world for me. I don't know about any of this. This is a virtual meeting. I don't know any of these people's names. I'm like very much
Yes.
not the person to be.
My old boss,
Who's that?
Catherine Craven. She used to be the executive director of the Maskell Building.
She's a captain?
Catherine, yes, Captain Craven.
Oh, I thought you called her Captain Craven.
Whoa,
And I was like, that's kind of
name.
a badass name.
That's my new D&D name. My next character could be Captain Craven.
Yeah, Captain Craven is wicked sick.
That'd be a good cereal name. If Captain Crunch was around, Captain Craven.
Right.
Craven cereal.
Yeah, I'm Craven. Why audio no work?
Did you share audio when you
I know help you. I know how. I don't know how.
hit present?
Come on.
Share tab audio.
Captain Craven.
My colleague, Kristen Valcourt, Deputy General Counsel,
hear it?
whom you see on the screen, has deep knowledge of charter school law. And if questions come up over the course of the discussion tonight or tomorrow, Kristen or I will be happy to help.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate that. To start, given the governor's notice this afternoon of a weather emergency and the fact that many speakers would likely be coming from Worcester tomorrow, an area expected to be hard hit by snow, I am transitioning tomorrow's scheduled in-person meeting to a Zoom meeting. Notifications will be sent out shortly, but please plan accordingly. We want to have safety first and make sure that everyone gets a chance to participate. So we're going to do tomorrow's meeting on Zoom as well. That said, thank you all for being here tonight. The famous union leader, Albert Shanker, is widely credited as popularizing the idea of charter schools back in the 1980s. Others have suggested that the concept of charters was really first adopted by New England educator Ray Buddy in the 70s, and it was only later that Albert Shanker
In the fucking
his
tank
idea
for
to
charter
mainstream.
schools.
Either way, it wasn't until the early 90s that
Yeah, right. This is just like propaganda.
Massachusetts.
He's got
The Shanker thing
process
about
here in the
charter
state
schools
more
is just
structured
like
and
there's a whole
stronger
long form
than in
story
other
about how
states.
that's just wrong.
As all
It's like
applications for charter schools,
it's like literally
must
the
pass through a vetting
pro charter
process
propaganda.
before being
this guy
presented
also
to the board for a
like
vote.
has Charlie Baker
Like in
stamped
other
all over him.
states, in
Oh, yeah.
Massachusetts, this board is the sole charter authorizing body, and our charter authorizing process
You know, in Spirited
is
Away,
recognized as one of the most rigorous in the nation.
when the adults
Indeed, only
get lured
24% of
into the
charter
food stand right in the
applications,
beginning of the movie.
112
Sure.
of 466 over the years, have resulted in approved
That's all.
charters since
That-
the
that came
initial
to mind.
application cycle in 1994. Once new charters are awarded, they continue to be scrutinized by the department.
Is he slowly
during
getting
the
closer
initial
to us?
opening process.
Yeah, he's got like a
Once a
Coming
school
for
has
us.
been
Scorsese
established,
slow
the
zoom.
department closely
coming
monitors
in.
the charter, and board
He's getting
members are
Wes
acutely
Craven New
aware of the
Nightmare
various
out of the
sanctions we
screen
can
at us.
employ, from conditions to revocations, to ensure that a high standards of performance is maintained. The result of our rigorous authorizing process and high standards for charter performance, Massachusetts is widely regarded as having one of the best, if not the best, charter school sector in the country. This does not mean charter schools have been universally embraced here in the Commonwealth. Indeed, despite the success of many charters, the electorate chose overwhelmingly not to allow them to expand with the ballot initiative in 2016.
Oh
To be
no.
clear, this referendum did not strike down the charter law. merely said that the charter sector cannot expand beyond its current configuration. Seats capped at certain levels. As such, the DESE Charter Office has continued to review applications for new charters and expansions each year. Rhoda said, what's different today is that this is the first new charter school proposal to make it through DESE's vetting process and come up for a vote during my 5-year tenure. The applicant group has proposed to establish a Commonwealth charter school serving 360 students in grades K to 8 in Worcester. The proposed school would implement a student-centered educational program using experiential project-based learning through collaborations with local Central Mass institutions. Simply put, this charter school has met the criteria of state law and our board's regulations, and as such, I am recommending it to you for your deliberation and vote. As is required of me in my role as commissioner, I will continue to uphold the standards set in statute, regulations, and published guidance in order to support the board's high-quality authorization process of new schools. A reminder, this recommendation is about the process. Some will recall at the beginning of my tenure as commissioner, I tried to forge a compromise between opposing sides on this issue. Unfortunately, that was ultimately derailed on Beacon Hill when the legislature did not permit an exception.
This guy's a petty little bitch, huh?
For real.
Tonight you will hear.
I tried to bring the folks together, but they said no. Despite charter school's successes, we don't want them. We don't want anything to do with them.
Melissa Hopkins, Assistant Director of the Charter School Office, will be here tonight and will share with you shortly. They are here this evening to provide a brief presentation of the Charter School Review and Approval Process and to answer all of your questions. After you hear the overview from our staff, the chair may ask members.
I know a lot of smart people. I know a lot of smart people who really like charter schools, but most people are not very smart people.
On December 9th. Member Moriarty, who was also at the meeting, but who cannot be with us tonight, may wish to share his experience tomorrow. After hearing from staff and our board members on these two
butter
items,
is such a delightful turn of phrase.
I'm asking that members please withhold questions until we get through the presentation.
My friend Jesselyn used to be a butter churning girl.
Member Hills and Member
She worked at Old Sturbridge Village for a while.
Meeting. There's no public comments tonight.
My friend Tom killed a goose
for
there.
Public comments tomorrow during our regular board meeting. We've also made an exception to go beyond the 10-person limit.
In what? Ow.
He was working there.
Who signed up in time to speak tomorrow.
They were planting a
Politicians
field.
to parents and everyone in between. I think it's important that we let everyone speak.
A goose got
ultimately. This board has the responsibility for either voting for or against the application.
Stuff in the field.
With that, I'm going to turn it
So
over
the guy
to
was like, all right,
his
you're
team.
gonna take the thing with the big stick and you're gonna
Also,
swing it
one more
towards
thing,
it
just before you
like
go
this
on,
and walk
in
towards
your
the grape.
comments, you mentioned that you
We'll
were
scare
trying
it
to
back into
broker
its
a deal,
pen.
but that was in another city.
So he's walking towards it. He's like, faster, go faster.
Sure you want
So he got one
to
faster and he
board members
whacked the
in front of
goose by
us listening.
accident.
That was other negotiations from 5 years ago, but that charter application has never made it
Oh,
ever
man.
eventually to this board. So this is the first in Commissioner Riley's team.
That's correct. Cliff, are you ready for your presentation with your team?
Good evening.
Yeah,
board
charters
members.
were the
Tonight, as the commissioner mentioned,
a good idea
myself, Alyssa, and Allison
that
will give a brief overview
got
of
quickly
the
co-opted
charter school
by
application
people with,
process, particularly since it has been 5 years since
bad
a
intentions.
recommendation
Much like
for a new
America.
charter school has been
It's
brought
a
brought
very
forward.
American story.
And we will begin with
Some
the,
hippie was like, "What if we
purposes
tried to teach
of,
people better?"
establishing charter schools as established by the legislature in the charter school
And then
statute, which
some
you see
bureaucrat
here.
was
There are
like,
7
"Yes,
purposes
we can use this to kill
that meet a
public
variety
schools."
of needs. We also wanted to remind the board of the legislature's provision for who is eligible to apply for a charter school. In particular, we wanted to highlight that it is explicitly envisioned in the legislative language that a nonprofit organization may apply to establish a charter school, and in particular, that a museum or other similar nonprofit entity might be an applicant. But we also want to remind
This just
the
in,
board
parking
that the
ban goes
charter is
into
in fact
effect tonight
awarded
at
to the
midnight.
Proposed a board of trustees that will then oversee the governmental entity that is created.
I hate the parking ban.
Chooses to vote to award the charter. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Allison to give a brief overview
Just
of
go
the
around
charter
it.
authorizing process and your role as the board.
I was trying to find that too, Brian. I don't think they do.
Why are
Good evening, board
they
members.
doing this?
Just to provide you with some basics, a charter school is a public school that is governed by a board of trustees, which is a public state body. All charter schools operate
Sorry, no
under a
captions, everybody.
5-year charter that's granted by the board. That school
Somebody
must
knows
follow
something
the
I don't.
same state
Very
educational
possible.
standards,
Vimeo's kind of
administer
wild
the
fucking
same
west,
state tests,
you know.
and abide by almost all of the same state and federal laws and regulations as other public schools.
We-
The
We
statute
could probably watch the new
outlines
Avatar
the
on
board's
Vimeo.
authorizing duties, as we've
Yeah.
heard so far tonight, is the sole authorizer of charter schools in Massachusetts. And one of those duties that we're discussing tonight is the award, potential award of a charter. As noted here, the Massachusetts Charter School Law explicitly states that new
Yeah, I think
Commonwealth
that's the
charter
big-
schools are
the big
only
issue.
granted in the month of February.
Cash grab.
In advance of the February board meetings, the board received information about the charter application process as well as the proposal. In January, board members received summary information about the application. Today's special board meeting is an opportunity for an initial discussion of the application process, followed by further discussion and vote tomorrow.
Addison Bag.
Alyssa is now going to guide you through the charter application process.
Here is the timeline of components of the charter application process. New operators are required to participate in a 2-stage process that includes an initial application and a final application. The applicant
Why
group of the
are
Worcester
they
Cultural Academy Public Charter School is considered
doing
a new
this?
operator because they're.
Why
I
are
was
they?
just going to say, you know, like we spend a lot of time highlighting
At
just
the
how
final
ridiculous
application
local
stage,
government
public
can
comment
be.
was
It's nice
collected
to see
via
that
a
state
public
government
hearing
is
and written
equally
public
ridiculous.
comments.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
just
like-
run by a bunch of silly
Continue,
people who clearly have no
that
idea what they're
the
doing.
applicant group
Yeah, and they're
participated
like,
in an interview with
this
department
this
staff.
shit should be
If an
known
applicant group's
to
board of
the
trustees
relevant
is granted
parties
the
here.
charter, the
Like,
opening
would you not
procedures
expect like a
process
board
begins
member
immediately.
of the
The
Department of
department's
Elementary and
opening
Secondary
procedures
Education
process
to at
provides
least have like
oversight of all requirements
a
that must be
small
met
grasp of
prior
how
to the
this
new
works?
school opening.
Since this is
Like,
the
this
first
could
time
have
they've
been
done
an
a charter
email.
in 5 years, it's probably they need a
The board
refresher too.
received a copy of the complete application criteria in both your January and February board materials. There is substantial planning and preparation required to submit a charter application that addresses these application criteria. As you can see,
Yeah,
here's
right.
an overview.
And the whole thing is just like being like, this is definitely legal what we're doing.
The initial and
This
final
is
application
definitely
stages
legal
is
and
aligned to
ethical.
this
It-
criteria,
You can be
in the
assured
state
of its
and the
legality
board's
and the ethics of
and the
it.
During the final application stage, there is a public hearing and public comment period. Board materials include a link to a video of the public hearing and copies of all written public comments received. The board held a public hearing in Worcester in early December. Board members, as mentioned earlier, will provide reports
is painful
regarding
to
what they
look at.
heard during the hearing. The department received written comments in support of and in
Yeah,
opposition to
this
the
is
proposed.
extremely boring. But like, why wouldn't they say that most of the people that were at that public hearing spoke against it? Like, why are they not talking about the proposal?
The department conducts an interview with the applicant group and proposed board of trustees as part of the final application process. Comments and questions raised through the application review process, public hearing, and public comment serve as the basis for the interview. The interview is an opportunity to gather additional evidence and assess the readiness of the applicant group and proposed board of trustees to establish an effective charter school. An interview summary, which includes a list of the participants from the applicant group, was included in your board materials for this month.
Oh, it's the up talking. That's what kills me.
The department generates an evidence summary
What?
reflective of the
The
information
nothing
gathered
this
during the
month?
charter application
Everything sounds like a
process.
question.
The summary is focused on identifying evidence relative to the application criteria. A complete evidence
Oh, yeah.
summary is also included in your board materials this month.
That's a very interesting element of like
Lastly, the
boring
commissioner received
sort
and
of corporate
reviews the
speak that I
results of the charter
always
application
subconsciously notice
process
but
to
never put a
assess
word
the
towards it.
group's performance against the criteria. The commissioner's recommendation
against
is
the
supported and
criteria.
outlined in his memo,
It's like,
and the board makes the final decision on the award of charters.
Like that was the way to end a sentence. Anyway,
Additionally,
I'm
you're
just
doing the
kidding.
Lord's work, Alyssa Hopkins. Get
after
that
the
bread.
charter is granted. Opening the school is conditional upon the group's.
You know it. We
successfully
know it.
completing
This is the
opening
worst
procedures.
performance of all time. But get that bread.
Here we
girl.
have an
Oh my
overview
God.
of the many requirements of the opening procedures process.
And this is also like just
The
not
department holds the
relevant
founders accountable during
to
this process
what
for
we're
addressing the
interested
variety
in,
of
like, at all.
regulations applicable to public schools
The
prior to
purview
the first day of
of
school.
opening procedures.
It includes
And
preparation
Yenny's
of
analysis
a
here, I
range of
co-sign.
programs and services,
Um,
including English language
I think
education,
that's what we're
special
seeing here.
education, transportation, nutrition services. It also includes a review of fiscal policies and procedures that are put in place to perform due diligence
This
regarding
is
the
visual
financial
abuse.
management of the
What is
school.
the makeup of this board? Like, how is it?
let me look that up. It's appointed.
Mara Healy, fix it. Hurry.
Nah, Mara
So
Haley's
it's
not gonna fix shit. She's just gonna ride tea.
Tonight,
Yeah.
we just provided you with an overview.
Did you
of
guys,
very
my friend
quick
Andrew, who's
application
really into the public
process.
records law, was catching
During
me up on how
Tuesday's
Maura
board
Healy
meeting, you will hear
promised
public
that she would
comment regarding this
make the governor's
application
office
from members
unexempt
of
from
the
public
applicant
records
group,
law.
public
And then
officials,
as
and
soon as she
members
got
of the
elected,
Worcester
was just like,
community.
no, never mind.
During the
I'm not
board's
doing that.
deliberation and upon the commissioner's
Tee,
recommendation,
yeah.
we will also be available tomorrow to answer any of your questions.
Just
about the
classic
charter
Democrat brain.
application.
Gotta love it.
Sort of concludes our official presentation, but we are happy to answer any remaining questions.
What presentation on what?
Members have about the charter school application process.
That was like reading the
questions
terms and
regarding
conditions
Worcester Culture
of like a
Fest
login
charter public
to a
school
website.
application to become a charter school.
I would have rather listened to the lady reading the news.
Commissioner.
So we're gonna, I think, hold those
Clicking
questions.
through like, yeah. I need to get on iTunes right
Members
fucking
who
now.
Yeah.
for the meeting in
I know I'm
Worcester,
signing away
they
my
feel-
life.
They felt comfortable doing so. Is that right, Chair?
Yes, I did. And I know Member Moriarty will be here tomorrow morning, but I know Member Stewart and Vice Chair Hill were here. So I'd like to call on Member Stewart to speak. And then where are you, Matt? And Vice Chair after Mary Ann. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. So the public hearing took place, as you know, on December 9th, and the purpose of the hearing is to provide
This is a
an
very
opportunity
unflattering
for folks
camera
in the
angle.
community to give their feedback
Negative
and share their opinions and questions that they have. So I'll just do a quick overview. Maybe other things will come up over time, but let me just say that
Stacey Luster. Once rumored to be the new superintendent for Worcester Public Schools.
42 speakers that night. And about 13 of them were in support and 29 of them were opposed. And the community was not at all shy about sharing their opposition, nor were those in support. And so for those speaking in support, there were identified 5 Old Sturbridge Village Academy trustees, 3 Old Sturbridge
Fucking
Academy
bastard.
staff, 4 parents from Worcester who spoke in support. And there was also a proposed Worcester Cultural
old
Academy Board of Trustees member
And
who
4
spoke, and also
cows.
Tim Nicolette from the Charter School Association.
Yes, that's correct.
And for those who spoke
And
in
almost
opposition,
3/4 of them
I'll
were
just
employees.
say, well, there were a number of elected folks. So Mayor Petty, who spoke on behalf of the unanimous opposition from the City Council and the school committee. First time I ever heard a superintendent speak in opposition, and that was Superintendent Dr. Rachel Monades, who spoke in opposition.
Nicely done, Lexington.
I can say a little bit more about some of what people said. There were also, it was state rep who spoke in opposition, a number of parents, a number of teachers. I
Did anyone
didn't
catch her
count them
name?
all
What's
up,
her name?
but I will say some of the things that they spoke to
I didn't
were
see it.
actual questions regarding the
They flashed
the
it, but it was cutting off
application
her chin.
and some of the
Mm.
outcomes as proposed. And let's see, many people spoke to the fact that this was the first time that they were hearing about this proposed school, that there had been no outreach from the cultural academy, that in fact there was a parent, Nellie Medina, who identified as a parent leader, a community activist, who said that she leads the largest parent group in Central Mass and had absolutely no outreach from this charter proposed school. She said, "How can you serve me if you don't see me?" There were, let's see.
Well said, Nellie.
Several people who were teachers within Worcester Public Schools who spoke to the abundant opportunities that are present within the schools in Worcester, that their focus is on social justice and diversity. Many people pointed to the fact that there's a new superintendent who's doing, who they felt was doing an excellent job of outreach to the community and business. There was a business person who spoke, a woman who runs a construction company, who came out in opposition for it as well. I'm just looking for a couple of other comments that I can add that are a little different. And let's see.
We have
In
one
any
reporter from Worcester named Bill Shaner who said, "Fuck this shit."
The other thing that really impressed me, I had never seen before, was the deputy superintendent responsible for finances in Worcester. That would be Bryan Allen, who raised many financial concerns in the proposal. And I, like I said, I've not ever heard somebody in his role come out to a public hearing and speak in opposition. And that impressed me. So what what he was saying was essentially, there were questions about the financial components of the proposal. Many people pointed to sections within the proposal that they had questions about, and would love to hear from Cliff and company, the rest of the team.
Mo Bergman, the culture is field trips.
How they are answering them, and I can ask those
The
questions later.
proposal centers around that they're going to do field trips. And that's what makes them different from the public schools, which don't do field trips, I guess, but they do.
Advocating for
You've never been on a field trip.
so many resources.
The plan is to have one bus.
You think any of us heard of Ulster
That it really
from field trips?
It's very difficult.
Fifth grade, baby.
See a chunk of money move to a charter school, another charter school. There are 2 charter schools already in Worcester. People noted not every school, public school, not charter public, but Worcester Public School. Not every one of the Worcester Public Schools have wait lists. There are many innovation strategies in many schools across the Worcester Public School District. And others
Can a
had
public school have a waiting
about
list?
the arts education,
The charter schools.
integration
Charter
component
schools
of
can.
this proposal. And as I mentioned, Bryan Allen, who noted that he didn't see allocation within the budget of arts educator positions or materials. I think I'll stop there.
Thank you, Member Stewart. Member Hills.
Member Stewart, was that?
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I got their board up.
So I'm going to try to just report on the meeting. I'm going to kind of keep my user opinions for that conversation. And I want to just kind of give a kind of straight down the middle.
Yeah, Marianne Stewart.
Again, commentary for another time in the conversation.
What this one, like
So
the board,
first thing I just want to do is
the board members
call out
here.
and thank the DESE
They're
staff
appointed by the governor.
really organized and ran a
Yeah.
super smooth and well done meeting. In
Yeah,
particular,
this is their
Lee,
board.
Brian, and to Cliff and Allison and
Right.
their whole team.
And that's
for
Republican government. Like Republicans are really good at getting like
leading the
their
process
people
and
into
helping to set up in
unelected
December.
and extremely powerful
Went
positions.
really smoothly. It was very well done.
All 7 of these, or however many, are
chaired
governor
the meeting
appointees,
in Worcester.
or Baker
There
appointees, rather.
were 2 other members there from the board, member Stewart and member Moriarty. So first, just some overall comments and information about the meetings.
So what you're saying is Maura Healey could fire everybody.
Scheduled from 4 to 6. We started right on time.
Yeah.
To about 6:20 or 6:30. It was fairly well attended in a large auditorium. I'm guessing there were a total of about 150 or 200 people. Not everyone was there the whole time, and nowhere near kind of a majority signed up to speak. About 61 people initially signed up to speak. We didn't get through all the speakers, but we got through most of the lists, 42 speakers in total, 13 in favor, 29 against. This is my second community meeting for a charter school. I was with Chair Craven and Vice Chair
Really well
Morton
attended, but we couldn't get
for
everybody.
last year. At this
Someone
meeting,
very well attended.
Mayor Petty spoke, the state rep spoke, 1 or 2 people from the city council, school committee, and as was the case in New Bedford last year, the superintendent spoke, and I believe the finance person spoke, and as was the case in New Bedford last year. So I got 2 data points, and it's sort of consistent. I thought the atmosphere was very passionate and respectful, which I think we all appreciated. There were no personal.
Dude, what the fuck is this? Why are they doing this?
They're like a fucking
plenty of
oral
passion.
history of why they're
Yeah.
going to vote over.
Why are they all giving a book report on a meeting that happened in
Passion
December?
and respectful behavior can coexist.
They
and
haven't
I
talked about this proposal once.
Right. And
They're just talking about everything else besides the proposal.
With respect to kind of the 3 minutes for public comments, there was basically 100% cooperation. Maybe like 1 or 2 people ran over like 15 seconds, but it was, again,
one good
Who gives a shit, dog? Like, what the fuck is going on?
One reason
People are all from the other side of 128. They're not familiar with the way we behave in public.
2.5
Shadow
hour
City Council is good, and
meeting
they
for the
figure out what
board.
the fuck they're going to
So
say.
what I wanted to do is just list some of the key issues raised by several of the speakers, not just sort of one person said this or one person said that. So for those speaking against the school, number of people said, obviously, the loss of money, which they calculated as $7 million would be bad for the Worcester public school system and its students with SOA money coming in. It would reduce some of the benefit of the SOA money. Comments were made, key elements of the program are also part of the Worcester Public School curriculum. Another set of comments with the new superintendent, things are coming together for Worcester Public Schools to move forward. There was concern about whether the school would serve a demographically representative student body from Worcester. So that was kind of some of the comments that were made against. In terms of comments for, some of the parents speaking in favor were not happy with the program and choices at Worcester Public Schools and believe that this
Some of the 4 parents that spoke in favor of this.
Parents spoke about wanting choice for their kids. They said this school would be a better learning model for their particular child or children. The experiential model was not replicated.
Should we go over to
hop
in on public safety?
It's been a
check it out.
It doesn't look like they're actually.
Turn up the volume though, Travis. Mo was saying the mic is hot again.
So yeah,
The mic is hot.
Oh, so they
Sounds
haven't
like
started
you
yet,
make
but the mics. K2 is just going, thank
hear
you, Daddy.
something in there.
Yeah.
I hear something in there.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
That's what the fuck is that guy's name?
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Public Safety Committee meeting. It's Monday, February 27th. in the
Dang.
Dr. Howland Chamber.
There's only one thing on the agenda today.
AJ
It's the body camera program.
colleague is
Yeah,
Donna
should be quick.
Florio. Councilor Rivera was unable
It sounds
to
really
attend,
quiet.
And we are
They're purposely turning it down so
joined
that
here with the chief
we can't follow
and
along with their
staff
hot mics.
to discuss the report on the body-worn
That's
camera
maxed out
program,
from them.
implementation and structural organization.
She's also not
However,
talking
we
into the microphone.
discussed
Not even talking near the microphone.
Yeah.
call-in information.
Big surprise. Kate doesn't
Pursuant
understand
to
how
Chapter 20
microphones
of
work.
the Acts of 2021. Actually, I need to call a roll. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go in reverse here.
We'll do Councilor Calorio,
Here.
Rivera, and Chairperson Councilor Toomey.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, and in order to ensure active public engagement. the
You don't
city
have to
council
read that
will
fucking
in
part.
person and remote
Oh my God.
Participation at all city council and standing committee meetings. To partake in
She's
the
like, I got my big boys in front of me.
within the meeting
I love my big boys and their guns. I love the guns.
Can one of our viewers just call in and tell her to talk into the microphone like a real person?
that,
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I can just quickly go over.
Oh, do my
phone
job? That's not my
information.
style.
Again, we'll just read the phone number. 929-205-6099 is the phone number that you can dial if you want to dial in with a phone number. With a phone.
AJ killing
The
it
access
as
code for this meeting,
always.
936-2291-4564. That information is listed on the City of Worcester's website. You can also head over to the municipal calendar section of the city's website. There's also a Zoom link if you'd like to attend this meeting via Zoom. And if and when the chairperson calls for public participation, if anyone wants to speak on the items, we just ask that you please raise your hand. The raise hand function in Zoom is on the bottom of the application, and you can also dial *9 on your phone if you'd like to dial in that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Now 2A, approval of the minutes. Order that the City Council Standing Committee of Public Safety hereby approves the minutes of the Public Safety Committee meeting on February 8th, 2023.
Yeah, and
Roll
the
call, Madam
report
Chair.
attached to this
Councilor
agenda item
Gloria?
is the same one
Yes.
And Chairperson
from
Councilor
City
Toomey.
Council.
Mm.
And then 3A, communication of the city manager, police department, transmitting informational communication relative to.
I don't think they did last
on the
time.
implementation and structural organization of the body worn.
Maybe they
There
protected
wasn't
them.
any.
Final policy thereof.
Yeah, there wasn't
And I'd
any.
like to,
So don't they have to?
People know that this is
Uh,
informational communication only. Ask the chief to start regarding this report.
What the fuck? Yeah. Oh my God.
To the chair, did you want me to read the report?
No, you don't have to read the report.
Oh, she learned how to use the microphone.
Highlights, I guess.
Goddamn idiot.
Sure. Let me see. We'll go right through.
Do you want me to read the report?
That's fine. Okay.
All right, the attached report. Okay, with the support and the encouragement of the honorable body of the Worcester Police Department, will soon implement a body-worn camera program for the purposes of safety.
Oh, now he's just going to read the report?
And I may add that we actually
Oh my
started
fucking God.
Yeah.
We can't win today, guys. We cannot fucking win.
7
The
o'clock
guy to
roll
his
call
right is
ahead.
the communications guy.
Officers
Who's the guy
wearing
to
these
his left?
body-worn cameras and
the Chiefs left or our left?
The Chiefs left.
I don't know.
That's Lowly Worm from the Richard M. Scary books.
So the program is underway. The goal of this
That is
program
an extra
to
from
assist
the movie
law
Barry
enforcement
Lyndon.
professionals as well as the public they serve to record encounters between police officers.
Just watched that movie this afternoon for the first
aid
time.
in internal and
Fucking
external
good.
investigations and to increase the quality of evidence.
Now,
Read the
Kiss.
following communication provided by myself.
Why is he reading the fucking report? We told him not to.
Planning and preparing for the launch of this program, beginning with the background research in 2018, a pilot program in 2019, a 2020 assessment and comprehensive period of community input.
This is
in
a
2021, a draft
this is a waste of
policy was
time.
written in 2022 with the
I'm
request
just gonna
of this
keep
body
throwing
to seek input by
like
the American Civil
Tracy's
Liberties
tweets
Union.
into
I am
the
pleased to report
comments.
that the policy has been reviewed by the ACLU and the city.
Yeah, it's like which one's more of a waste of time?
To this hearing.
This meeting or the like? Where is the conclusion more foregone? In this meeting or in the state meeting?
Completed for both offices and
Did that guy get to the end of reading the minutes of how many people were not upset?
Yeah, right.
The right down the middle guy.
Yeah, right down the middle.
Mr. Middle is what they call me.
Oh,
Yeah.
Tracy's reaction to that was a Sure Jam gif, which fuck yeah.
Fire.
Client assistant city solicitor. I look forward to the commencement of this program, but
I think this one's in the
we have not
import of
hired
this meeting is
yet.
seeing what
We'll be
unhinged
using,
bullshit Kate Toomey might say.
police officers.
Yeah, that's true.
Police officials to be doing that.
It is the first time she's appeared in public since the patch article.
Place
Mhm.
to the law department.
Since she got
Chief,
fucking ethered.
how long do you think that might take?
I didn't see that. You guys?
No,
As far as,
but
I don't.
hiring, we're hoping.
if it's the gang unit,
through
they are
HR,
not just not going to be on at all, ever.
numerous
Yeah.
open
As a matter of policy. It's
throughout
up to the
city.
officer's
So we're
discretion when he
working hard
turns them on.
trying to do some of our own recruitment, maybe looking at some of the colleges, but
Which-
as of right now.
Where do the most
it's
abuses
the
happen
law
in
department,
Worcester Police
and
Department?
HR
What
that are
unit?
doing most of the recruitment.
Yeah, that would be in the investigations division,
Once again, our next command
the gang unit, the vice squad, the neighborhood response team, you know, the plainclothes personnel.
we
Interesting.
have WPI.
And who has special considerations for body cameras in this policy?
possibility of,
Oh,
not
the
just-
plainclothes personnel. That's
creating
kind of
encouragement
wild.
that they
That's
can
kind of
create
funny
jobs.
coincidence,
So
is it
we
not?
have people who
Fucking
are really
crazy.
interested in this type of
Is
work.
that also the department that's under investigation
So
by the Department of
the
Justice?
position
That is very likely the
Yeah.
department which is under
Yes.
investigation by the
Yes.
Department of
And,
Justice.
and
Yeah.
what type of background do they need for that?
A couple
Spicy little
questions
peanut.
Kate Toomey just won't ask.
Through the chair, so it would require some training in the legal aspects of redaction, what has to be redacted and what doesn't, as well as a certain amount of technical capabilities to do the physical redaction in the software.
Okay.
So any public record, just like with a written report, isn't.
Do you think any of us can get a job
Right.
being a video redactor for the cops?
Definitely
What
not.
would determine it not to be?
The law department is never going to hire those people. That's going to be overtime work for cops for forever.
It's a continuing investigation.
And then cops have to learn iMovie?
And it's pretty much,
Da Vinci.
pretty much every record is a public record. If it's something to do with an.
Yeah, imagine going down to Clark and being like, "Who wants to be a cop?"
brought to the courts, then he would be also involved with.
And just shooting anyone that steps forward with like paintball gun, like pepper balls.
Hinder any of our investigations.
Yeah.
By sending out information.
You guys saw what we did a couple summers ago down here, right? You want to do that?
With a minor, I would imagine that's not.
Well, those are.
Yeah, through the chair. So anything domestic is not a public record. Any sexual.
I think if
assault-
you can go through a liberal arts education and still want to be a cop,
We would
you're
defer to the law
exactly
department on
where
this.
they
We'll have
want.
discussions about.
Why every cop went to Endicott?
in one of these categories.
Yeah, right.
Anything domestic or sexual assault related doesn't go out at all.
Like, technically a
There are some
college.
redactions required by law, such as those, and some that would be discretionary, such
Or,
as one interface of children on scene
Mhm.
or
Lacrosse
license
Academy.
plate, privacy concerns. Those would be
Bill,
discretionary.
what's the over/under on how long it takes for a video to
That's
leak
good
out
to
of the
know.
department that one of the
Okay, Chief,
redacting
I'm sorry,
officers
right.
added either a drowning pool backing track or Mortal Kombat sound effects to like some egregious like abuse of power?
There was a piece in the policy about how body camera footage can't be used to ridicule people. And I was like, that wasn't a concern of mine until reading that.
Now that you bring it up.
But oh, of course cops would love that. They probably have like a they're gonna have like a Dropbox folder or something there for all the greatest hits.
Directly to
Yeah.
Aiden Kearney's Gmail.
Yeah, right.
They're already fucking doing it.
They're gonna have to
Yeah.
require these cops to have highlight reels to apply for jobs.
Governance task force.
Let me see your reel.
Under Governor Baker. And it was,
They said while we were talking that anything sexual related gets immediately redacted. Anything
interesting
with
group,
children's
a very
faces
good
gets
group,
blurred
very,
and license plates.
well-versed group.
Well, yeah. So when a cop is
So we had
purchasing
as far as, you know,
a prostitute on the
like
clock,
police
Sex
officers,
worker,
that-
if you will.
Well,
We
the
had a
sex workers.
sergeant, we had myself as a
right,
chief,
sex
we had
worker,
small
purchasing a sex worker
also included
on the job,
union representative and
that's, you can turn the camera off for
throughout
that.
the state.
Sure.
Now, if it's an underage sex worker, I think those cancel out and he has to turn the camera on. But I'm not a cop.
Yeah, right, like two lefts make a right sort
We had a
of
very
deal.
diverse group, and we discussed many issues and many of the, if not all, of the recommendations. From
That's
the
a
state,
weird
and that's one of those
caveat because if they're
recommendations to
recording and
governor
he's
to
or
bring
they're
up to the
hiring
state,
a sex
we
worker,
incorporated,
if they're filming it, does that
we
make it a
incorporated
porno?
lot of those into our policy, so we were very
Oh.
sensitive to all the
Not
issues that
consent,
were out
well,
there, and I know
more like a revenge porn
to thank
type
and-
deal.
and, the captain, Supernaut.
But then that's also wiretapping.
Hard work because it was intense and it was, you know, I know that everybody.
That's, I don't know.
We're hearing about this 5-year.
We're gonna have to ask Mo Bergman about that one.
Especially the last couple
Get a
of
legal
years,
opinion.
they're consistently working on this with their other.
Would it be funny
along
if we
with
just
their other
hired Mo
duties.
Bergman as
They
our
came up with a
lawyer?
Tremendous.
We
strong
retain Mo
policy.
Bergman.
Put him on retainer.
We will, as we always
We start a
do, we will,
GoFundMe just to
we'll
retain
be
him.
looking at best practices as we go along, and if we have
If I if I started a Patreon, just
Did this
to-
motherfucker just say that he's gonna commit to best practices? You literally ignored the best practices of the ACLU. Like,
he did in fact lie.
he always just lies. Like,
Policy that if you do make some changes, that you put the date, the change was made, the revision was changed.
And all our policies are online, and
Kate Toomey is learning how to run cover for the cops at
all our
the next
changes
city
are
council
dated
meeting.
online. I know we discussed this
Yeah,
before.
yeah, because that's just
Kate,
important.
Kate just learned about
Um,
timestamps.
Sure. Thank you. Through the chair.
Ooh, good tip.
Basically, Chief, what I was going to
Good tip. I'm gonna write that down.
you about the policy changes, because as we know, this is a new thing. Sometimes you don't get it 100%.
Man. Such a dummy.
And there's different factors. It's good to
This
hear.
is a new thing.
Are you gonna
Neither
use
one
it
of them
on a
understand how
certain date,
microphones
or are you
work.
is it going to be?
God, Donna Caloria looks terrified right now.
You know, change.
Just
in-
perpetually
We'll start to
terrified.
see Where we have issues and what has to be done, and that will be brought up right away, or will there be?
Yeah, there's no point in this.
Through the chair to the council.
And if Kate Toomey didn't hold,
Review, there's
there's
two sides. One will, the commanders.
it's
will
Kate
have
Toomey's
an
fault that
audit
this meeting is
review
happening.
Yeah.
Each month, I think, is it each month they get the audit? The Bureau of Professional Standards will also get an audit review. It comes from the company. They just send out the numbers or however it's done, but they send them out themselves so we can review for best practices. Once again, to see best practices for training reasons. But as far as our review of the policy, we'll pretty much be reviewing almost on a weekly basis as we have our commanders. We have our commanders meeting every Thursday. So if something came up during even one shift and it came up through the ranks that, could we take a look at this?
Steve
This
Sargent
doesn't
kind of
seem
looks
to
like the
work.
evil Keebler elf,
Pretty much be evaluating.
Oh, we
like
agree.
Dark Keebler elf.
Risk
throw it up.
management, if you will.
So
on a
this
daily,
has
not
existed
only-
for over a
definitely on
year.
weekly basis where we'll be discussing all the issues that are going on within the
Wow.
department, on the streets. of
This
the
was
city,
made right
but
after I made
also our-
this.
Our technology and our
And before I made this.
all our tools.
Well,
So, through the chair, that's
well, I just don't know
good to
anything.
know, because I think some of the concerns are from the community is that now this is.
It just hits me every once in a while.
Not gonna be
This
any-
man really looks like the Keebler elf.
They're not gonna have any input from the community, et
I
cetera,
don't
et
mind bringing
cetera.
it back.
What I'm
Let's
hearing from you is that
Throwback Tuesday,
that as this evolves,
Monday.
there will be,
Yeah,
like
Monday.
you said, someone, just.
I'm looking at you
A
people, so I
patrolman could
assumed
come up with something
it
and
was
say,
Tuesday.
you know
Yeah,
what,
right.
this seems to be blah, blah,
do you
blah.
mean, you
and
people?
Could we look at it this way? So that
What is Donna Colorio saying?
you look at it as a policy, maybe a policy change, and then you could enact that policy change if you felt it was a better way or a better solution right away. You don't have to wait for a 6-month review, a 1-year review, whatever.
No,
Living document.
she's not. They're just trying to wiggle out of ever reviewing the body camera policy.
All
That's what
policies
they're doing.
can be changed any given day.
Solid
any
bean
given
South
time.
Mom.
As soon as it comes to me, it's rewritten if we need to rewrite it, and I sign it, and then it goes back into the system and make sure that everybody, we would send out a message to all our offices and certainly would notify.
So yeah, they're literally just prepping
the city manager.
for the council argument when it comes up that this policy should be reviewed
back to
publicly every
daily,
once in a
the
while.
weekly, I mean, we have a
So they can say, no, the police just review the policy all the time. We don't have to have public review of the policy.
It's a living document.
Who will be monitoring on
It's a living document, right?
Back to, especially to
This
captains.
So we
is
beat
this
it.
is an important one
So
from the other
involved
meeting right now.
in the operations division, who would the majority of our cameras are in our patrol division. So
Doesn't matter that people
he's been
outright has no bearing on
feature of this.
No way.
their decision making.
Offices respect both these offices.
So we'll have to find another way.
Immediately, if there was any problems.
So through the chair, just one last question. So as the community listens
Whatever you say, Mo.
tonight, and they're wondering, do they still have a voice? You're reassuring us that
Your
they
call,
still
boys.
have a voice.
Here's a
and that,
thought.
1 second.
As we go
We had that whole
along,
Tea Party thing
on
happen,
these
right?
issues
Like, what could
or
be
whatever,
more
you
historically
just wanna
accurate
tell us what a great job
than
you're doing.
a bunch of people, say activists, dressed up as
They're
First
still
Nations
involved.
folks and burning old Sturbridge Village to the ground?
Absolutely,
Like,
and
that's quite literally the history of every free American colonial settlement in this region.
we find
And it would be so easy to burn if somebody did that.
Very flammable.
Those idiots made everything out of wood.
Not a single sprinkler in sight.
The numbers go down when things are going well.
A mere arrow doused in gasoline.
In some
Allegedly for comedic purposes, alleged by someone else.
Yeah.
Mind you. I'm
Let's,
just repeating the allegation.
Travis, let's go back to the other one. This one, yeah, it's clear what they're doing.
Yeah, it's we got the gist of it. Yeah.
Large councils show up to some of these meetings. Also, our city government, our partners in city government are there for DPW. So it's not just the crime watch. There's so many other things going on there to be part of our community. And if they have any issues with anything that's going on within the police department, not only this.
Take me back to the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. Travis, do it.
Working on it.
Working on it.
And thank you to my fellow board members. I've enjoyed this
We got sound.
more general conversation,
Yeah.
the process and the context for our decision, especially after as we get back into this after a long hiatus. If it's okay, I want to turn the conversation to a couple more specific questions about the application and issues that have been.
Wow. They're going to talk about the
received.
application, huh?
One of the prominent issues that's discussed in written comments in opposition to the proposal that I suspect that we'll also hear about tomorrow are the details of the financial arrangement between the applicant group and Old Sturbridge Village as the management services
That was almost an
provider.
old Sturbridge pillage.
There's a line in Commissioner Riley's recommendation memo that notes that the draft contract for management services contained within the charter application will be reviewed by the department and is subject to approval of the board. I assume that's after a vote to approve the charter, but before the school is opening. first of all, is that understanding correct? And then could you all help us understand what you'll be looking for in that review? And how much experience we have as a department in vetting these types of management contracts? Is this an unusual arrangement or one that we have a lot of experience working through?
Sure, I'll start and then I will turn it over to Liz to give a bit more details. So yes, this is, your understanding is correct. If the charter were to be granted tomorrow, the school would commence immediately with opening procedures. And in this particular application, one of the key components would be a review of the actual management contract. I'll remind you that, again, the legislature contemplated partnerships or charter schools birthing out of nonprofits, museums, et cetera. And, the way that you codify partnerships is generally through contractual relationships. It's a very common arrangement in Massachusetts. We have several schools that are well-known and do very well, including the one that, the Ulster Ridge Academy, that are supported by management organizations through a contractual arrangement. Our process, I dare say, is very rigorous in terms of the scrutiny that we apply.
I do declare.
That, again, this is the public oversight that we support in terms of our role as the authorizer on your behalf with the public board that would be receiving the charter to ensure proper scrutiny and management of the services provided by a private partner. And it's historically, I think it's important to note that there have been many relationships of this type that have been modified, switched, or terminated by the public boards throughout the history due to the changing needs of the partnerships as schools evolve and mature. And part of our process is designed to ensure that founding group, the proposed board of trustees, has that capacity to act in the public interest, to negotiate, ensure that the public interest is being met. And I think the fact that we have a track record in Massachusetts around that strong oversight is part of the rigor of the process that the commissioner mentioned. But I can also turn to Liz if you want more detail about what we're looking at in terms of what's in those contract elements. Would that be helpful?
Well, your answer just now was very helpful. I assume that part of
sounds
that
like Tony Hawk
review that you have experienced is the fee structure and what makes sense given the.
Oh, do you guys know that?
If I guess if you could just confirm that would be helpful.
Yes, of course. That is a key component. And though this is a draft, and that's, I think, important to recognize that before the school, the charter school exists, what you're looking at are drafts and evidence of capacity to actually execute the real thing based on our review of the proposed management contract. Its fee structure is well within the range of reason in terms of the fee structures that we see that are common in this manner, and perhaps on the very low end actually of the fee structures that we've seen. But again, it is a draft, and that could change, as the school grapples with the actuality of their finances. But as proposed, it is well within reason. And not surprisingly, they have a model in the current contractual relationship that the museum has with the existing Ulster Ridge Academy charter school that I'm sure that they drew from.
Thank you. And Chair Craven, may I ask one more specific question? Great. So another of the written comments in opposition to the proposal notes that the assessment plan that the applicant group provided didn't include dyslexia screeners at kindergarten or in entry grades.
They didn't have that back then.
I took a quick look back.
Yeah, that wouldn't be period
I
accurate.
wasn't able to find a specific reference to that.
Also, only monocles.
As you all know, the use of these types of screeners
No
has been a
eyeglasses
priority for the board. Should we be concerned that that content is not in the proposal at this stage, or are there additional safeguards that would ensure compliance with that type of requirement, especially a new requirement?
People are dropping like flies.
Turn it over to one of Alyssa or Allison to take this.
It's me. Sorry, we're juggling, making sure that none of us are over talking each other.
You guys are doing great.
I want to highlight that what you're talking about is a great way for me to really emphasize the purpose and process of the opening procedures that takes place if the board were to award a charter to the proposed WCA. It is an opportunity for us to ensure that omissions in the application, areas where perhaps additional information was needed, or we would have expected more information prior to school opening, that sort of conversation and ensuring that all of those aspects of operations are fully ready to go before the first day is exactly what happens during opening procedures. The application, while it is comprehensive and lengthy, we do not expect it to entirely cover all of the potential permutations of school operations. I want to be clear, there is no such thing as a perfect application. So we really do lean in during the opening procedures process to ensure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Because I want to thank the staff really
She still has sunglasses on her head.
for a
always
very
did.
comprehensive overview of the process.
Always
Member
did.
Planky,
Like even in the office.
I'm glad you're asking your question.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions.
Wait, what's going on?
I've spent basically the past week or so talking to students from Worcester, just to sort of get an idea of what the word is there, how students are feeling about this, and to sort of compare and contrast what exists in Worcester right now with what this charter school could potentially bring. And so I guess a couple of questions that I have in general, I think that the application says that it gives a couple of new opportunities, a couple of new innovative ideas to Worcester. I think if we can take a broader view at the idea behind charter schools in general, this idea that charter schools can be hubs of innovation, right? That brings something really new and innovative to the district. From talking to students, I think that a couple of the things that are said to be brought about with this new charter school already exist with a couple of pre-existing programs in Worcester. For example, dual language is something that's come up a lot, and there's already La Familia, which is another school in Worcester, very powerful in terms of dual language education. I think also
Hold on, guys.
that
I think he's on our side. I think he's on our
go
side.
on so many field trips, for example, to the ecotarium. They have a lot of experiential learning opportunities, and that's something that is really being spearheaded with this new superintendent. I also think I have a question regarding early literacy, which is something that Marty West obviously mentioned earlier, and I know has been a focus of this board for the past few months. I remember reading through the proposal and from talking to a couple of students and other people in Worcester, and I learned that the reading assessment model that's going to be used by this charter school, or that's planned to be used, is not one of the models listed in the curated list sent out by the Massachusetts government. And meanwhile, that same model has been used in Worcester in the past, and now they're moving away from it because of some issues that they have specifically with the K-2 reading levels. Basically, the idea is that this model is not teaching students how to effectively read. And so if we come back to that idea of charter schools as being hubs of innovation, with the opportunities that are already present in Worcester, with this outdated model of reading assessment, I'm sort of wondering, in terms of your process, was this application put in context, right? Because any charter school can seem innovative, they can have all of this great language, but I think my question is, although experiential learning is always a good thing, is it necessarily providing something new to the community of Worcester that wasn't already there before? I think that that's a really important question to consider when we eventually make our vote. So was that something that you guys thought about in your application process?
Thank you, Member Planky, for that question, those questions. I'm going to answer your question regarding the innovation outlined and proposed by the applicant group, which is, it's always good to ground us in the reasons for the establishment of a charter school. So thank you. Worcester the proposed schools educational program is one that is EL education, and there are no schools in the Worcester area that provide an EL education model. And I'm going to talk a
It's
little
just
bit
a
more about that model.
subcontractor.
Their education program will offer students, all students,
Hey guys, you want to be
2 hours of
famous?
dedicated time weekly
Oh.
for learning
Nope.
expeditions. And those are
Bodgog,
expeditions
tell me more.
outside
Reverse
of
centaur.
the charter school. It's the physical building, and much of the curriculum
What a go call,
will
Doc.
lead up to those 2
We gotta
hours
get those
each week and then process
Bodgog
what they have
bucks.
experienced. The application also outlines ongoing partnerships with local
Brendan, can you
cultural
say something? You sounded really
institutions to
soft.
support these weekly learning expeditions.
I don't have anything
The
to say
weekly
right
curriculum, as I said, builds around these learning expeditions and promotes
Is the volume okay?
deeper understanding of some
There you go.
complex subjects.
Okay.
For some
that
reason, your
inspire
mic takes a second to
creativity
warm
and
up.
encourage creative thinking. EL Education partners with
There aren't any
13
partnerships. There's
schools
no
within
commitments of any
Massachusetts,
institutions.
8 of whom are
Why
charter
is
schools,
this is
5
a
of whom
DESI
are
employee, right?
regular traditional
Why
public
is
school
she running
districts and
cover
schools
for
to
the charter
provide this
school?
sort of immersive educational experience that is much like deeper learning supported
And the
by
partnerships
our
are just fucking field
department.
trips.
There is
Those happen all the time.
really
The whole
voice
thing's
is
based
meant
on
to be
fucking field trips.
centered in this model.
So
In the
stupid,
learning
man.
expeditions, and it's meant to be surround the things that interest students, and they can
Thank
find
God we
their
live in a
own
blue
voice
state,
and
you
way of
know?
expressing
Yeah,
themselves
really.
through these learning expeditions. So those are some of the aspects that make this offering different from the wonderful offerings that Worcester Public Schools already offer its students.
She doesn't even believe what
I'm
she's
going to turn it
talking
over
about.
to Alyssa to answer your question about the assessment.
She gives herself a high five. Good non-answer.
Apologies for that delay. So in terms of the assessment system, I really would flag that in the review of the application, we're looking at the curriculum and the instruction and the assessment systems. And I would highlight that the curriculum identified by this applicant group for implementation of this proposed school were all curriculum that was identified through the Department to Curate Reports initiative as either meeting expectations or partially meeting expectations, which means that they would supplement it with additional materials. As a charter school, it has the freedom to implement its school model, implement curriculum and assessment systems. And again, part of the opening procedures process will allow the department to have conversations with the proposed board of trustees, as well as the proposed school leadership team in terms of further refinement and enhancement that may
charter
take
school
place
when
over
you
time.
say it's a charter school. Until that point, it's just a load of shit that you don't have to buy into.
Right. You know, something different would be like, we're going to offer psilocybin treatment to all of the students at our school.
Any other questions?
Support this.
Mr. Secretary.
You know, that'd be a wicked sick idea. If there was like a bad kid school, and
First,
they're
I
like, we're
just
going
need
to
take
do
a moment.
mushroom
I was
therapy.
very impressed with Member Planky, who attends a school where I used to work and have fond memories. Thank you for that contribution. I also want to quickly express appreciation for Member West's. I think it gets at just one. I think this actually is a procedural question that I have around decision making. His particular question, I didn't see any discussion of it in the limited evidence or.
Will we face any professional ramifications for doing something blatantly unpopular?
Question about when something lands in the limited
I don't know if you guys
evidence
talked about this when I
column.
was walked away. But
Is
like,
that fodder for
if you
additional
can't
research and
consider the
discussion
financial
with
ramifications
the
to the city,
proposers?
and you can't consider
How do you
people's
evaluate
public
whether or not
opinion on whether or not
is,
they like the idea,
you know,
and you're clearly not taking into account whether or not
potential, you know,
these
maybe
programs
the
are
stop
already
points?
offered in the
What do you
city.
do with that
then one, what is your criteria
of what's
for
in the limited
like
evidence?
rejecting an application? And two, what do you do about
That's a
what
great
does anyone
question,
do?
and I
Like
appreciate you
what
asking it, Secretary Tutwiler.
like what recourse
So,
does anybody have?
as you can imagine,
Yeah.
I feel the
the
recourse, Brian, is
depending
that we
upon the
sit down together with
application, that
ChatGPT,
limited
put
evidence
together an
column
application
would be
for a
quite
new charter school based strictly on
right.
stand-up comedy in the town of
And so
Andover.
I do want to highlight
Yeah, right,
when
right.
you look at
Take half
this
their fucking budget.
particular applicant group's
Andover Academy.
summary of evidence,
Each student will
you should
graduate
be
with a
looking
passable
to
Type 5.
that limited evidence section based upon
Courses
the
include
information that's
Proudway.
provided within it.
Yeah.
Is this
Like discipline.
something
Yeah.
that can be
Yes,
remedied
and?
during the opening procedures process? Or is this an obstacle in terms
We
of
will
the
teach
group's
students to
readiness
ask
for
questions
opening?
of the audience like, any polyamorous couples in the crowd? Anyone in an open relationship?
Where'd you get that shirt?
Perhaps in the past, the applicant group maybe
I just got broken up with. Anybody in the crowd gotten broken up with recently?
other components that would lead us to believe
Does anyone
that they would be
recognize that this is stolen
unable
material?
to implement the education model that's being proposed. Based upon the concerns that are described in this evidence summary, by and large, the majority of these are areas where, through the opening procedures process, through the department's oversight, and watching the school getting ready for that first day of school, many of these things are areas that could be addressed during that oversight process.
Thank you.
Hey, can I ask one more question about the process? Sorry, remember, almost one more. Just if there is, as you know, we are giving a vote either in favor or against the awarding of this charter tomorrow, right? And if you find through your due diligence process, if we let you go forward with this, that these things are unsatisfactory, what's the process for that? As you go through your
You don't vote to approve it. What are you talking about?
Ultimately, Chair Craven, the school would not open. So the opening procedures process is quite extensive, as you saw by the quite awful visual of all of the requirements that are right. It is quite overwhelming to fit on one single slide, but it is absolutely, the school would not be able to open if it could not fulfill its obligations under opening procedures. There is regulatory language that makes it quite clear that those expectations need to be met in order to establish its readiness to open and serve students in any capacity. You can imagine that in the past with a new school, there have been delays to opening. Those have largely been related to a facility's readiness for occupancy.
Delays, okay.
Yep. But so it would not be allowed to open.
Okay, Member Lombo, sorry.
Well, that's okay. I had a
Yeah,
question about,
so
'cause
we're
I'm
gonna
still
vote
having
for this
some
thing
difficulty
despite all the obvious
understanding. I
problems,
know
but
that,
you can promise to fix them
you
before
had
opening.
mentioned that
After we steal money from
local
your city.
opposition doesn't necessarily mean not approving a charter. I guess I'm trying to understand your all's process as staff, how that weights in terms of support locally and its ability to be successful based on their application. So if there are going to be local partnerships that are needed to have the charter school be successful, how are they going to do that if there's so much local opposition, for example? How are you weighting that? And then my other question has to do with how much
True.
of a factor have you factored in, I guess, have you in your review workforce? So diversity of workforce, experience, wages and benefits in terms of its success and our overall interest in making sure that the schools are successful in that way. So those are my two questions.
Another interesting tweet from Tracy on this one.
So, sorry. Okay. We good? Okay, sorry about that. To your first question, as we've mentioned before, it really has to be keyed into the criteria, right? a lot of the local opposition are
They're
based
just
on factors that the
rationalizing
department
Right.
are outside of
the
department's
foregone
purview, right?
conclusion
They
of the
are
approval.
I mean, it's the
philosophical
same. It's literally the
thoughts
same
about
thing that we
charter
saw with the
school,
drone. It's the
charter
same
schools
thing
in
that we see with the
general,
body cameras. It's the same
around the
fucking bullshit
funding
argument
mechanism for
every
charter
single
schools,
time.
all of which are again
Like,
outlined in
oh
the
well, we'll
legislature.
manage
To
it.
the extent
But
that the local
we shouldn't
opposition
just
keys
because
in
it's
and
fucked up. We
specific
shouldn't
areas
stop
that are related
doing
to the
it.
criteria,
Yeah,
that is
right,
certainly
right.
something that
Once we
we
see how
unpack
fucked up
in
it
that
is.
interview process and consider.
Bullshit fucking
But
argument.
we do have to weigh again whether or not that is part of applicable to the criteria. I would also say that the criteria speak to sufficient community support with respect to enrollment to ensure that the school can be fully enrolled and viable. It doesn't speak to, a certain level of political support per se. And as Alyssa has mentioned, the opening procedures that are stopgap on that, if they don't have the students to report in terms of enrollment or anticipate to enrollment, then that would be one of the things that would potentially prevent opening. So again, it is about whether or not that opposition or support is keyed into the criteria.
Can we then banish those kids to Old Sturbridge
whether
Village?
or not that would impact the school's ability to be viable.
The ones who did apply?
Sorry,
We did
children, you're
consider
not turkey
the strength
farmers.
of the partnership possibilities, and the school did provide evidence of partnerships, and also acknowledging through the fact gathering process that these things are developmental as well in terms of the way that partnerships emerge after a school begins. And the school actually included that developmental process explicitly and carefully in their sort of rollout as they expand over the course of the 5-year chart. I'm going to turn it to Allison to address your second question.
Thank you, Member Lombos, for your question.
Just move to a
about
different room,
workforce.
people.
So, in general, charter schools
Put
are
in
provided
headphones.
the
I'll
autonomy
figure
to
this out.
both develop and implement their schools programs. Part of that is that the Board of Trustees is responsible for the financial management of the school, including the school's budget and setting
I'm gonna
compensation.
submit a
for
charter
staff.
application for
The
a
application
an
describes
an
the anticipated
OnlyFans
working
oriented high
conditions,
school experience,
average salary for staff.
and I'm gonna call it
It
Cock and
also
Balls High
describes
School.
the staffing plan for the
I don't have
first
a theme
5
song.
years of the
Cock
charter term.
Cock
and
and Balls High
includes
School.
specific staffing
And
to
think about that.
best serve
That's a beautiful
the
song.
school's anticipated
Sounds familiar, but I
population
can't
of
place it.
students. These things are not sort of the working conditions and average salary for staff are not material terms of the school's charter. They are subject to change as the school assesses anything that is needed in their compensation packages for potential workers and
Say what you
educators,
will about Cock and Balls
and
Academy.
in terms of the
Cock and Balls
kinds of
means something,
experienced
whereas
educators they need
culture
to
in this
recruit
context
to
is
best serve their
meaningless.
student population.
It offers something that Worcester Public Schools do not
So
currently
there
have.
isn't necessarily
And aren't willing to
goal
provide,
setting
frankly.
around diversity
Right.
and cultural competency
A school which
and
asks,
experience levels and all that. There's
what if
not
we just let
necessarily
them do
that,
the
or
sucking and the fucking?
is that in the application itself?
There is not language that specifically articulates those things that you
We
state
stand
in
erect
the
for our
application
students.
itself, but I will say, as stated before, the criteria to review both charter and district performance expects teachers, public school teachers in Massachusetts, to ensure that teaching strategies include cultural competence, and that districts, as many initiatives of the department demonstrate, that all charters and districts are seeking to diversify their staff in order to respond to research that very clearly states that the student body needs diverse teachers in front of them.
Okay.
And I'll just add two pieces to that. One is that during the interview with the founding group, several of the board members spoke very persuasively and intentionally and specifically around that issue around ensuring a diverse staff for the students that will be served in Worcester. That I think it was in response, if I recall, to a question about how the board will hold the school accountable, and that was one of the things that were highlighted by several board members as a top priority of this founding group. I think to your I now don't remember if it was the first or second question, but your other question around support and demand, I think it's important to note that particularly in this current political environment, there is, I think it's fair to say, some hesitation in terms of how to express support for a proposed charter school, given the type of discourse and opposition that might be voiced. And we have found over time that once the charter is granted and once that initial
we have found
the process of running.
But if we just ignore
phase
everyone, they
has
eventually
occurred,
get tired
that
of being ignored
demand,
and move on.
has been there, right? That parents may not want to put themselves out there in the process of if something's not going to be, they're unsure, especially if, again, there is.
I figured this is more interesting than what's happening
from officials within that community.
Oh, look at the little woo little legs!
The demand material.
He's kicking.
Quickly.
Who's that?
There is evidence of that demand.
It's my girlfriend's dog, Rocky.
Case,
Rocky.
He's best enjoyed from afar.
Thank you.
Because he's kind of a dick.
Any other-
He would go
I'm
to
just
Cottonmouth
imagining him.
Academy.
I'm imagining him very difficultly climbing up the rocky
One
steps.
is, I just wanted
Takes him like
to
2 hours.
clarify something that was in the presentation tonight about any nonprofit can file an application, including museums. But I just want to clarify, this application is not being filed in conjunction with any expedientiary learning institution in Central Mass. Is that correct?
So the applicant group is proposing to partner with Expeditionary Learning as a partner in the implementation of the educational program. And obviously part of the founding group is the museum. Folks affiliated with museum are part of the founding group. It is a little bit of a quirk of our law where it outlines who can propose a charter school, including museums. But then upon, were you to vote tomorrow, right? You have this extraordinary power, frankly, right, to create something that doesn't exist. And you,
via
that vote,
but it does exist.
A new public entity,
and to
which then has
get rid of something that doesn't
as
exist, which
outlined
is
in the charter school
funding
law
for
around
the
being a public governmental body with the rights that are afforded it within the charter statute. And that's when you need to formalize these relationships with partners through contractual arrangements. So it is, it's always been a sort of quirk in terms of up until that point, you have an applicant, and then once that charter is awarded, a new governmental body is created, and then you need to formalize the ongoing relationships with respect to the operation of the school.
Okay, got it. Okay. And then the other question I had was, to what degree, or to your understanding, are students actually pursuing the self-directed curriculum that they talk so much about? Can you share a little more
They're
about
just rationalizing a decision that they are incapable of.
Are you
just reconsidering?
So the school,
right? Like they're just like.
Are you
well,
speaking about
there's a lot of problems here,
Hey,
but we have to vote yes.
Yeah. What if
I don't know
we
if
need to go
that's
back
true.
on
I
our
was
fuck up
talking
tomorrow
about,
that's coming?
they were talking about
how do we do this while saving
students,
our reputation?
student-led conferences, for example, and I think it
How do we
came
do
up,
this while maintaining the payments that we're all getting from Old
in the
Sturbridge
interview
Village?
process.
Yeah.
And I wrote down this question around students pursuing
I was promised
self-directed
free admittance
curriculum.
to Sleepy
And it was a
Hollow
question that I had for your
every
office. So
year
I'm
for the
not
rest
sure
of my
what
life.
it actually
So
means in terms of the
I was promised all the
proposal.
butter I could
Yes.
churn.
Understand that.
All the child churn butter I could eat.
That's what
Have you
Allison,
ever
I think,
had
was speaking
child
to
churn
in terms
butter?
of their proposed
It
model and what
is
does set
delightful.
expeditionary learning apart.
You thought veal was good?
Reference to member Planky's question. So that is our understanding about the proposed part of the proposed, educational model that is part and parcel with the.
Listen, I went to a few after-hours parties at Old Sturbridge Village that put eyes wide shut to shame. All right.
Thank you, Member Stewart.
Elio.
Any more questions from the
Everybody's in
board?
big
I like this
pilgrim
Blair
hats.
Witch Project style camera
Public
lighting.
comment on this?
It's incredible.
And have a little bit more discussion with Mr. Secretary.
I want her to end the
final
meeting with putting the
question.
sunglasses
There
on
are quite a few
and having a scream.
references to Old Sturbridge, both
In
in
South
the
London, I don't
event
remember
summary as
reading
well as
about
the
self-directed curriculum
application.
in the
I'm just
proposal.
curious from a procedural standpoint, how deep a
Wouldn't
dive
surprise me. I don't know. Just checked a bunch of
the DESI
bunch of
team
buzzwords.
does in understanding, you know, all aspects of the operation, the good stuff and things that are in need of improvement, whether or not that weighs on your decision making for the proposed school, the analysis of the school that's referenced, the existing school that's referenced so heavily.
Well, so to be clear, there is the references to Old Sturbridge Village, the museum itself, which is a private nonprofit that operates the Old Sturbridge Village and also has that contractual relationship with the Old Sturbridge Academy Charter School. And to the extent that the applicant group for a WCA is going to rely on those services.
What kind of therapist would you go to when you grew up and realized your parents sent you to a school in the 18th century?
Service. And also, just to be clear, the capacity
Didn't
of that
M. Night
applicant
Shyamalan
group
write a
to
whole movie
their
about
own
this?
vetting, right, of that proposal, because ultimately we're not the ones directly in relationship. We have an oversight responsibility. But obviously, as you referenced,
I mean, this is a joke, but maybe it's not. Is Old Sturbridge Village starting a cult?
The capacity to operate
First, they start with a school,
is related to
and they're
Old
going to
Sturbridge
build
Academy.
housing complexes.
So, to
No, I
not
mean,
get too
there-
technical,
if it was
this is
a
not,
cult, at least
in
they'd
fact,
stand for
a
something.
technically
You
true
need
application
fucking
of
money.
Old Sturbridge Academy because we're talking about a brand new
They've
founding board
identified a place
strong
to
connections
steal
and
it from,
affiliations with
and it's
the
us.
Worcester community. And the proposed board, and my colleagues will correct me if I'm inaccurate.
All right, then I'm back on the other idea of activating Wolf
the
Paw.
Old Sturbridge Academy Charter School Board who have expressed their intention to support.
Just turn them loose on Old Sturbridge
and
Village.
move over to the new board, but the remaining members of the board are all new members of the board. And we assess that capacity independently because we want to make sure that the fiduciary and legal responsibility for the success of WCA is firmly in the hands of a competent and qualified public charter school board in Worcester. But we do obviously look at the track record.
In an entirely fictional scenario where this happens in a parody type situation, like perhaps in a video game, seeing Old Sturbridge Village aflame would be really, really fun.
They completed their first charter.
That would be awesome.
That is something we definitely look at, especially in areas that might transfer with respect to, say, fiscal. The
All those
things that
thatched
the
roofs.
museum particularly provides services with, fiscal management.
There's this
supporting
artist,
compliance,
Alex
and those are
Schaefer,
definitely things we look at
who paints Chase Banks in plein air. So we'll go sit across from a Chase Bank and he'll paint it on fire.
Okay, Barry.
Somebody could explore their artistic expressionism at Old Sturbridge Village.
First part of our meeting tomorrow, and the public comment will clearly be there. So.
Oh, that's true. There's gonna be public comment tomorrow. All the public comment is gonna be like, "You guys are stupid if you support this," and they're gonna be like, "Well, we support it."
So we've actually revoked more charters in the past few years than we've granted them. And so it shows that the process works to this point. And
Or that you're terrible at decision making.
Yeah, that you should have approved them.
Inherent conflicts.
Yeah, in order to revoke, you'd have to have approved in the first place.
How bad were the ones that you revoked?
Either way. So I appreciate all of you, your time tonight.
Public comment is obviously not going to impact their decision, but it is going to make the decision
painful,
like more transparently
I think, do I have a
bad.
motion to adjourn?
Yeah, we
Well,
should
if you do,
absolutely.
I
People
move
should
to adjourn.
absolutely call and 100% make public comment for sure.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
You already had to have signed up.
Tomorrow.
Same place, right?
Yes.
Oh boy. Yeah, the meeting tomorrow takes place at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to 12. I think, hold on, let me get the information on that. Yeah, it's an early one. And I'm sure there's going to be lots and lots of public comment, just like the first time. And the the school committee's request that the state auditor look into these financials will have already gotten to their desk by the time that they meet tomorrow. So it's a whole thing.
Man.
But yeah, that was pretty crazy to watch. They were a little bit slicker at the whole game of it than the Worcester City Council, I would say, but they were just doing the same exact thing we see city councilors doing.
Yeah,
These
are just the best of the best.
Yeah, they're just probing for information that like confirms and makes them feel good about the decision that they are not going to change their mind on, despite all the available evidence.
What a wild system, though, that the decisions are literally hinge on ignoring all information that would lead a reasonable person to come to a rational decision.
Yeah, right. Those things are to be stricken from the record. You can't consider the damage that it does to the municipality that it's in. You can't consider that people are opposed to it.
Right.
That there was public comment. You can't consider that, even though they discussed that at length tonight. And they very clearly were laying out a path where it's like, okay, this application has obvious problems. How do we support it and then feel good that the problems are going to be fixed after we give it the green light? You know,
right?
Yeah.
And which is like not something you would do if you were against it.
But they wouldn't open. We all saw the slide where it was almost too much. And so what's going to happen is they're going to approve it, and then it's just not going to open, right?
Oh,
sure.
I don't know, actually. I don't know about that. But yeah, so the meeting tomorrow for this, the approval, it's going to be via Zoom, and it's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the Zoom link is in that
5
link.
hours.
Yeah, 5 hours. And then we have the city council meeting tomorrow as well. It's going to be a long day of watching meetings for this guy. Really pumped about that.
So if you want to save yourself some time, you should just read about it on billshaner.substack.com.
Yeah, you're gonna get to hear all about all of this in the next post. That's for sure. Let's take a look at the city council agenda, huh? I haven't even looked at it yet.
Okay, while they pull that up, I'll do some more plugging. We've had some sales on our store, Envy Store, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for buying shirts, everybody. Buy more.
Woohoo!
And follow us on Instagram. Shout out to Jess, who runs our account. She's kicking butt.
Yeah. I did want to plug also on March 15th. We are doing the Roast of Worcester once again.
Yeah.
We're gonna be in person this year at the White Room on March 15th. Tickets are available on Wootenay's Eventbrite. If you follow us on Instagram, you'll see the link in there. Check it out. We are, like the graphic says, we're raising money this year for Compassionate Care ALS. It's a group that works with patients with ALS and their families to kind of take them through the process. The reason we're doing that is because Shaun's dad is fighting ALS right now and is working with the CCALS. They're doing incredible work for them, and I've heard from other folks, other families that have gone through this, that how great the organization is. So we want to do our part. So we're at, tickets are free, but we're asking for a suggested donation of $5. Throw some more in, please.
Yeah,
a bunch of money. But
yeah,
we're hoping to have some fun with that. We're trying to work out how to potentially live stream it, but it is a complicated process. So the best possible way to guarantee that you see it is to be there in person. We're going to have a lot of fun. Bill is going to be roasting as well.
Yeah, I need jokes. I'm not funny. I can't write jokes. Send me jokes.
Send jokes.
Send me jokes, and then come watch me. This would be my first in-person comedic performance. I am almost certainly going to bomb.
No,
it's going to be come to see that. Come to see that because that's going to be
just
awesome.
Sit down with Doug Arbiter. Doug Arbiter always brings fire every year.
Doug is roasting as well. He's actually
Doug is great.
He's the catalyst of it. He forced us to start planning it. He's like, no, I'm fucking doing this. So
he does so well.
Year. Yeah, he's he's a nasty bitch. So he is, yeah, it's gonna be. I'm very excited. I can't wait. So do that. Come to that. We got a bunch of other shows coming up too. We got some stuff we're gonna announce in the next few days. Some more shows at some cool spots that you guys will have to check out. But we have shows on March 9th and March 11th at Ralph's. Tickets are starting to move for those. So get some tickets. Peter Ravello, David Drake, a lot of other stuff as well. So come support live comedy so we can open our own club, and then you can just come hang out there every night. And we'll make Bill get on stage every night and roast people.
Sick, yeah.
It would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, the agenda. I just skimmed through it. There's another Sir Rivera added item about banning nips, and I will again say over my dead fucking body to that. And that's going to be fun. But other than that, there's kind of a light agenda. I don't think we're going to be on the computer all night tomorrow night. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot to be done. But yeah, tune in tomorrow. We'll see.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us all afternoon. This is really great. And like you said, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah. See you this Tuesday.
Yeah.
Whoa, got him.